Hey, family. Hello, hello, hello. What's going on with the family? What y'all doing today? This Shabbat service. When I say Shabbat service, I mean this Shabbat. I hope everybody's good. Let me get myself set up. So, family, we had to change the plans today. Um, Mr. Blacktastic is a little under the weather, and Zadok had something he's working on. So we had T's out of town, so we had to kind of, reschedule. So let me see. Let me reschedule. Oh, I'm trying to set it up. My iPad is loud. So now I do have someone with me. Our wonderful always family. He's not a guest. He is our brother. What's going on, Yakoba?
What's up, Sister E? Hey, family, how's it going?
How is everyone doing? Y'all hear my background noise, right? Let's see. Yeah, y'all lift up okay, so let me see him. Hold on. One second. I got one more guest coming. Let me see. Y'all bear with me 1 second. 1 second. I'm almost done and I'm gonna be ready. Let me see. All right, we got one more guest coming up here. But because today we're having to wing it, we decided to just have like an open discussion like we did last time. And when we had the open discussion, I just renamed the title after the fact because we were pretty much all over the place. Saints was all over the place. No, I'm just joking. We had good conversation. I got two more people that's supposed to come up here. Really, one more. I asked Pastor Kelly if he wanted to come, but I know he has something he's doing. So, hold on. Let me get you know what? I'm sending this out. Hold on, y'all. Let me see. One more thing. All right. I got Mr. What is it? Big Red coming up. His name is Big Red. That is so hilarious. And Arrow Spike and a few others within I sent it out to the Patreons, but usually my normal Patreon crew is Curious, Big Red now, and Arrow Spike and Ruhama. So Ruhama, you're welcome to come up here as well, ma'am. And Arrow Spike, I sent you the link too. So anybody who is a Patreon, y'all welcome to come up. But we're gonna have open mic again tonight. Because it was really good. We had really, really, really good conversation. I enjoyed it. And I know you all enjoyed it. So let me wait for some of them to come up here. Let's see. Second Exodus, what's going on, brother? So how you doing, Jacoba?
I'm doing all right.
You sure?
Yeah, I just got finished eating some cookies, so
Oh, that is hilarious. Thank you so much, everybody who likes my head wrap. Thank you. I gotta get my hair done this weekend, so I'm just joking, y'all.
I don't have that problem.
You know what? I'm just not even finna say anything.
Okay, I'll do like Pastor Kelly. How them chicken wings?
Chicken wings. You know what? He's somewhere probably asleep because he said, "Yes, send me the link. Send me the link."
Isn't that what he messed with you on, the chicken wings, or is it chicken fingers? Which one?
He is always talking about the chicken wing, five hot wings.
Yeah, 5 hot wings. That's it. The 5 hot wings.
They want me to tell them about the dessert I had. It really wasn't like a dessert. It was like, I'm getting hot. It was a snow ice. I took a picture of this the food this dessert I was eating, and it was very good, and it was called snow ice while we waiting on everybody. And let me find a picture of it. And that's all it is shaved ice with fruity pebbles, and I'll show it to y'all while we wait on everyone to get on. Let's see. This is what I was eating. It's not ice cream, it's shaved. It's called snow cream. That's what it is, snow cream. And it's like a milk type thing that's frozen, and it is like it was really good. It had fruity pebbles and vanilla wafers, so it was really good though. Everybody was really asking me about it. Okay, so Big Red.
That's too much sugar for me.
That wasn't a lot, but you know what? It wasn't sweet. Now the cereal on it was a little bit too sweet. It was overwhelming. But after when you start eating like the ice part, it wasn't overwhelming. What's going on with your arrow, Spike?
Shalom and blessings, family. How are you guys doing?
Good.
What's up, Spike? How's it going?
Good, brother Yacoba. Excellent.
With that Doctor Who avatar you got.
yeah, remnants of my childhood.
You gotta for real be a sci-fi geek to know what Doctor Who is.
Yeah, grew up with it, so
I never got into it. I watched a few episodes.
You don't know what you're missing, especially the old Doctor Who.
Right on.
Y'all gonna make me go binge watch Doctor Who.
Yeah, saw that. So I started watching that one when I was like, what, maybe 8, and it was one of the first actors I saw. The actor's name was Tom Baker. He's a guy, if you ever seen him, had this big long scarf and hat.
That's the only Doctor Who right there.
Right, you understand what I'm saying? Okay.
Let me see. Oh, you talked about, that's the one. Okay, I'm looking at it now.
Yeah,
I'm looking at it now.
His famous thing. You want a jelly baby?
For me, it was K9. I just wanted K9 and the TARDIS.
Oh, you know what? He was in another good sci-fi show, but it was on Prime, and it was called Good and Evil.
Oh, yeah, that's David Tennant. He was the
second.
No, but when they rebooted the series back in 2005, he became the something for. The sad thing is I almost know them in order. I want to say he was the 10th Doctor.
How many doctors have they had on Doctor Who?
Oh, good grief! Because the show started in '63, and it's still running now.
Oh wow!
So Tom Baker with the hat on, he's the best. The second best was the guy in the middle.
Hold on, they give you a lineup of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Here they go, all of them. I'm gonna have to watch it.
The good ones. The recent one is trash.
Yeah. Tom Baker, the ones with Tom Baker are just so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, family, we getting ready to do open mic. I enjoy our conversation on, what was that, Wednesday? And we talked about spiritual warfare. And Big Red got hype. I'm like, he hyper than me. I'm just joking. But it was good. What are y'all's thoughts? I mean, what did y'all get from Wednesday's conversation? Don't everybody speak all at one time. I'm trying to get us to talk about something other than Doctor Who.
Trying to give space because I could go, so I be trying to be humble. I don't want to just jump in.
She just wants you to jump in, Red. Just hit it.
Yep.
But no, that's my subject, man, because that's something that my mom was, my pastor pretty much growing up, and that was one of the things that we always were on. because, even just from personal experience, because my grandmother on my dad's side was into witchcraft, and she didn't like my mom, and she did some foul stuff, and she would put witchcraft like on the stuff that we had. Like, I remember, one time we came outside and she caught my grandfather out there digging around in her flowers. And we like, what are you doing, dude? Like, we just literally watched him in the window, and he was just like going from flower to flower. So this junk is like really, really real. Even how she got saved, was when she had she was sick and they didn't know why. And then when she accepted Christ, she was fine. So it's important that we know what's going on out there, because these folks out here not playing fair, man. These cats will follow you around in the store because they'll recognize you. They see the God in you. But unfortunately, Christianity just got cats out here chasing rabbits and Santa Claus and all this other stuff, and not teaching you the real tenets of spiritual warfare. So it was a great conversation.
Very true. Very true. Especially, like I said, with a lot of the modern church being inundated with just Western thought, the idea of any type of spiritual warfare seems pretty much absurd. It's like that's primitive superstition. We not do that here, but it's very much real. And because people don't recognize that, especially in the Western church, spirits can run rampant through them, and people have no idea why. Why do you think all of a sudden, people go to these churches and they go in there, go to the pastor, shoot him, and leave, and then think nothing of it? It's like, yeah, this is some wicked stuff going on in some of these buildings, some of these congregations.
I've been in churches where the pastor is a straight up warlock. I remember we sat in this service one time, and this lady, it was such a demonic service. Like, we left that church. It was so funny. Wow. And then after we left the church, the pastor was coming to our house talking about, oh, you wouldn't prosper and you won't do good, because we was dipping out of that church. But he had this lady come in who was a whole lesbian, and she was like, Lord God, I order you. Oh, y'all didn't know y'all can order God, don't you? And I'm like, what kind of crap is that? I'm like, I'm a kid in middle school, and even in my child mind, I know, I'm like, bro, this is the creator of the universe. Who are you to order God?
This is probably a good topic to talk on, because what about all of the ancestor worship going on in quote unquote Israelite movement and back to Africa movement? We got a lot of witchcraft going on, and we also have it with the what they call it, the secret and all this stuff, and manifesting. That's what they call it now, manifesting. No, it's witchcraft, right?
Positive affirmation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. Didn't you just do something on that recently, Yacoba?
Yeah. The law of attraction versus fate. And it's pretty bad. Every time I turn on I get on YouTube, all I hear these people talking about is manifesting. I'm like, y'all don't know nothing about the Bible.
Man, and they wear out the one scripture, speak things that are not as though they were.
Exactly.
Right, take it out of context and everything. Yeah.
Yep.
Way out of context. Yeah. They use it for witchcraft. Mainly it's used for getting a woman and getting money. Like less than money. That's the two biggest things that they always do. Like, I had mentioned it before, how I was a prophet, and I don't like saying that because the church has made me averse to my own calling, because all these little parking lot prophets out here who want to call out lottery numbers and, oh, I know your social security number. Like, the devil can do divination. The witch of Endor pulled Samuel out of the whole grave. Correct. So the devil can do some stuff. The soothsayer that was following Paul and them and was doing all that divination, he had to turn around and cast a demon out because she was getting on his nerves. Like, the devil can do some things. It wasn't nothing for the demons and the wizards in Egypt to throw their things down and to become snakes. So the devil got power, and unfortunately, because the church is not telling people about the inherent power that we have in Yah, that comes through Yah, not from us, not from our ancestors, not from no positive affirmation. It comes from doing Yah's will, and only from doing Yah's will. We don't call down fire just to call down fire. Even Yahushua himself, he had the ability to call angels up, and the devil told him to do it, and he didn't do it. He told him to make bread, and he could have did everything that he asked him to do. But he didn't do it because it wasn't in his Father's will to do it. Are you doing it for your glory, and are you doing it for God's glory? Because witchcraft is just the ultimate sin of rebellion. It's rebellion. It's wanting not to access the way God do it. Because see, God, people don't understand. God has this knowledge for us. God wants us to understand these deeper things in the spirit, but we have to do it through Him, and He gives it to us when we're ready. The devil don't care. He'll give you whatever you want and then watch you destroy yourself. And that's why people will do it, because the devil don't got no requirements on his knowledge. So they'll just go over there and charge up some crystals and bang on drums and bring them demons in and then reap havoc.
Correct.
Correct.
I was thinking about, like, say again, even within the Israelite community, about the idea of ancestor worship and everything. When I was, when I first, well, like I said, before I understood who I was, I, got my minor like in Black Studies and started dealing with the Kemetic community as a follower of Yeshua, and did not realize what I was walking into with some of the people who were in the Kemetic religion and African ancestor worship. And as I went on and started seeing, it's like, wait a minute, these are people who are hurting and they're looking for an identity. And they're thinking, well, in order for me to be truly African and get out of my European mindset, I need to do exactly what my ancestors did. And not thinking that it's exactly what our ancestors did that got to where we're at right now. You have to think about that.
Yeah, and that's the excuse I hear a lot from, especially those who are Pan-Africanists. We're going back to what our ancestors used to do. We're leaving the white man religion, and we're going back to what our ancestors used. Yeah, your ancestors used to do that, but that's why we went into captivity worldwide. Because if you want something, should not a man or woman seek after their God? Shouldn't they ask their God? That's what the Bible says, but they skip over that.
Right.
Because God has requirements. See, the devil don't require you to live holy.
Yep.
God requires requirements of living holy. You can't just come in and access God and do things in Yah and have your hands dirty. And that's what's wrong. These people sitting under these preachers that's doing all this demonic stuff. There's a reason why, if you notice, whenever the pastor has lust problems, there's lust problems in the church. Whenever the pastor has homosexuality problems, you'll find that homosexual cats always heard to those type of churches.
Yep.
Because it's in the headship and people don't understand. Even in the music you listen to, God says, out of the abundance of the heart does the mouth speak. I remember talking, I just got into this with somebody because they heard Marilyn Manson singing that song, Johnny Cash singing, "You Could Run On for a Long Time." Well, that song is actually an old gospel song that was sung by Hebrews from the 50s. And she was like, "Oh, well, it's a gospel song, so it should be fine even if he's singing it." And I'm like, "No, that's not true." I said, "That's an ignorant way of looking at it." I said, "Out of your heart is what comes out." I'm like, if I have a nice water faucet and I put it over nice water and I pull the handle, what's going to come out? And she was like, "Good water." I said, "Now if I take that same beautiful faucet and I put it over muddy water and I pull that handle, what's going to come out?" And it's just like what God said, out of the issues of the heart, out of the heart comes the issues of life. Like these people be tapping into this demonic stuff and they'll use it for their power, and then they'll go up and sing these songs, say that they Christian, they'll preach the word and sound amazing, but they be spitting out that venom inside of them, and it'll get into your spirit, and people don't know that, and they'll sit under these people and be getting more demon possessed than if they was running the streets.
Correct.
Yeah. And then they're gonna say stuff like, "Well, I can prove that it works, right? I could prove to you that the secret works. I can prove to you that it works because it worked for me." Say, "Yeah, go tell the mouse that was saying, 'Hey, I found some cheese, y'all. Come follow me.' Guess what? I can show you where the cheese at." And then that mouse go eat that cheese and his head get taken off, right? That's how it is. The devil gonna let you come in there and bite and nibble at the cheese, and then he's gonna take your head off.
Right. And Satan, Hasatan knows. Especially again for us, wanting to have an identity after being century after century being oppressed, to put something in front of us and go, "Hey, this is what you want. This is good. This is culturally significant to you." And so now I was reading back a few years ago. It was a story that talked about how many Black people were leaving the church, but what they were doing, they were saying they were leaving the church. They would they were going to church in the morning, going to, Baptist, First Baptist, whatever, Second Baptist, what have you. And in the evening, go to the Babalawo in Ife, doing Ife religion to do divination for them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I'm going to say, yeah, you see them preaching and just, giving praise to God. And then at night, they go to the Babalawo and ask them to throw the bone to see what the will of Shango is.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
You know, are you Spanish? If you mind me asking.
Me? No.
That's interesting because that's what, isn't it? Santeria? What did they call it?
Santeria, yeah.
Santeria. And that's what's interesting, that a lot of practices that people do in some of these churches, in some churches, and I've been in church my whole life, not all, delve from some of the practices dealing with voodoo, some of the things dealing with Santeria, some of the things like speaking things into existence.
Yes.
Because all of that comes from.
How do you have power to? God has given us power, but see, they take that one scripture when they're talking about if you have enough faith, you can tell a mountain to move, pretty much. But they are taking it and they twisting it and making it about money, about cars, about a spouse. Some people are praying for spouses and don't know how to be a decent friend to anybody.
Psychic prayers. They do
That's
psychic
it.
prayers. They
But
be
you know,
sitting here
too,
claiming people.
if you notice, a lot of them have the concept of power as in, like, once again, Japanese anime, right? That there's some inherent power in you that now, you can become quote unquote a god and you can command things and do things, right? As opposed to, you don't have no power. God gives you power to do things, right? Yeshua said, the works I do, you shall be able to do also. How did he do it? He did it by the power of the Holy Spirit, which is different. It's not your power. It's power that God gives to you to accomplish what? His will, not your will. See, that's where they get it twisted. They think they could go tell that mountain be removed because they want it to be removed. No, if the Father tells you to remove that mountain, and you have faith, then he'll move the mountain. See, they got it twisted.
Right.
Brew Queen, I see she asked that question, what's throwing the bones? That's what they do for divination. And what's funny, it's funny that dominoes are called the bones because people use dominoes for divination as well. But yeah, whenever you see somebody throwing bones and stuff like that, they even show you, like in movies and stuff, they'll throw bones in like a little basket and then they'll shake them around and then they use it to read the future. Even bobbing for apples with that, funny thing, the first time I ever bobbed for apples and the last time was in a church. It was actually in Without Walls. I used to go to Without Walls way back in the day. It was called Open Door Christian Center. I'm showing where I'm at. It was called Open Door Christian Center years ago. Again, I was legit. I grew up in this Christianity demonicness, and they had a fall festival, and my little happy Christian redhead behind went down there and I bobbed for me an apple. Didn't even know that's for divination. You would bob for an apple and then you would cut the peel of the apple and throw it on the floor and then they would tell you your future.
Wow. And that's so crazy that we
never knew that.
That's it. And I didn't know that either, but it's
Me neither.
But they it's like you've allowed the very thing that did not need to come into the church to creep in by way of, oh, that's normal. Oh, we're in the mindset of assimilating. We don't assimilate.
It all comes from I was just watching a Binyah video about the hidden Hebrews, and it was just going over some of the stuff with the Inquisition, and he even showed how all the different churches came out of the Catholic Church. Excuse me. Because you were saying how these rituals and stuff got into the church. It's because it comes from Catholicism. I remember I used to argue with people and say, no, Christianity is not Catholicism. What are you talking about? But it is. They borrow a lot of the same practices. Like in a lot of places in Catholicism, like Santeria is basically voodoo, but they just replaced the voodoo gods with the saints. So that's why they can get away with it, because they couldn't practice their religion because of the Inquisition. So they was like, all right, instead of calling it this, we're going to call it Saint Mary. Instead of calling it this, we're going to call it Saint Jude. And that's why they got all those saints candles that they light for different things. Like I remember a dude of mine who's a Catholic. He's like, yeah, I lighted this candle that's supposed to give you like mental clarity, and I got like really good. It worked. I mean, like Jacob would say, "Oh, it worked. It works."
Yep, and that's it. And it's crept into the church. It is, and people tend to look just at New Orleans for voodoo and hoodoo and all that. Man, Tennessee is hoodoo central. It is. You go into certain parts, you better be careful. It used to be an area in Memphis called Voodoo Village.
You know why? Because them slaves brought back that voodoo from Africa, and it still was inherited down from generation to generation.
Yep. Anybody from Memphis know about it?
I used to always tell my the white friends that I had, I used to like, bro, you need to pray voodoo off of your family, especially if you think that you had family members that own slaves, because just like that, what Jacoba said, they brought that hoodoo over here, and don't think they wasn't throwing hoodoo and voodoo on massa. There's a reason why. If you notice, it's more European kids that's born with autism, some black kids is getting it, but that's like a common thing over there. Some of that stuff is just not normal. When you start looking into certain people, family lines, and you see tragedy hits a lot of people. So these are the things you got to pay attention to. When tragedy starts happening, when bad things just start happening. I'm looking at the Kennedys. There's a clear curse on the Kennedys. Every single one of them. Somebody put a curse on that family because every last one of them met a tragic end. That's not normal. This is how we have to be awake in the spirit and not just say, oh, these bad things is happening. Like after I got off the live, the last time we had it, I started having issues in my personal life. That's how the devil come up. I was waiting for it because when you get up here and you start exposing the devil, he's going to try to attack you in any way. And we have to be spiritually aware of these things and realize it's not the people around us. It's spirits that's trying to influence them to get to you, to get you off center and to get you to do something different. Because when you off center, that's when the devil can come in.
And you know that attack from the devil and from the spirit realm or wherever it comes from ain't no joke, right? It's no joke because
attack from
somebody got their
wherever it comes from. Ain't no joke, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been under serious spiritual attacks, and one thing I understand is when you're in the midst of warfare, which is what we all do, right? Even though we may not realize it, we're in spiritual warfare, even when we're teaching and talking and all this, that the enemy's going to come. So understand that, we are in the midst of a battle and sometimes there's casualties.
Correct. You know what? And you look at things like Hollywood will show you what they're doing in their movies. One movie in particular that sticks out. What's the movie about the house being haunted? And the little boy was astral projecting out of his body and going into another realm. Mm-hmm. And you go through a red door and you go through that door and you're in another realm. Huh?
The Shining?
No, not The Shining. It was not The Conjuring. It was the maybe it was.
Oh, it was a more recent one?
Yeah, which one?
I do remember seeing that, but a lot of those movies, like you said, that's true. A lot of them, they be showing that, like those exorcism movies, like the exorcism of Emily Rose and all that stuff. But
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, they be showing a lot of that, and a lot of that's true. I've seen exorcisms. I remember we had a dude; he was a friend of the family. And this dude, straight up hood dude from the street, ain't hardly been outside the state. And this man start talking in dialects of places I know he don't even know exist.
Did I ever tell y'all the story of? I think I mentioned this on Berean show about my wife's sister's friend. This guy I met, and he used to, before he got saved, he was in the occult, and he used to leave his body. And he would leave his body all the time. And then he said he got to the point where he couldn't control it. So he'll be going places and he'll just blank out and he'll leave his body. And he would be around these demons. He said they were like giant black spirits or whatever it was. And he could not control it. He couldn't get away. And he had no control. In the beginning, he could do it when he wanted to. But then after a while, he couldn't control it. And so he was like tormented basically until he got saved. And once he got saved, it all stopped.
Wow. That's interesting. Hey, Pastor Kelly. Hey, Ruhama. I know you know what we're talking about. I know, Pastor Kelly, we talked about doing the 7 Seals, but we shifted. We decided to do open mic. But right now we're talking about how not to play in this, with demonic spirits. And I was telling someone here recently too, as well, about how you've had to cast out demons, and then we were just talking about overall stuff like that, and it's just dealing in spiritual warfare, how not to dibble and dabble into that whole thing of the paganism and black magics and voodoo and all that, and how that is intertwined into the church. And how people have now become desensitized to it. And it's like some of this stuff we not supposed to be doing. Like, I mean, And that's what I was trying to tell you, high level. But I've seen places like a woman can walk in and say she's a prophet, and the Holy Spirit instantly say that's a witch. You don't know the difference between a witch and a prophet. And you're sitting here and you're saying, you got to know the difference. First, if someone prophetically gives me a word and I'm living in sin, but you telling me I'm going to be blessed, that's a problem. That's a big problem. And not because we all fall short, but when you're intentionally sinning, your life is extremely out of order, but God is going to ignore all of that and then tell you you're blessed. What is that?
No, ma'am.
That's totally out of order.
If they happy to see you, you're not a real prophet. There's a reason why Jeremiah was called. Man, sometimes I just read Jeremiah and I laugh because I be feeling this dude. Because if you a real prophet, you know this man cursed the day he was born. He cursed the man that said congratulations to his daddy. He cursed the man that gave him a gift. He was like, I'm tired of this, but I got to keep saying it because it's like God in me. And I feel that because they don't like you when you a real prophet. They're not finna come and see you out here and give you thousands of dollars to preach at their church. Because when you usually come into church as a real prophet, you're there to bring reproach. You're there to tell people to live holy. Like there's no nonsense in me and what I say. Like sometimes I gotta like train myself in non-Christian, non-godly issues to, be like, okay, this ain't that serious. I can find a middle ground because as a prophet, there can be no compromise. There can be no shortcoming when it comes to speaking the word of God, because you can't just come up to somebody and be like, oh, God said this, and be speaking out of your own heart. And that's what these people for witchcraft do, because they want to get money and they know people want to have itching ears. So they'll come out there and they'll call your social security number and give you lottery numbers and watch you give them tithes while they go to the devil thanking them for all the information.
Yeah, who was the prophet? They say, oh, here he come again. All he do is preach doom and gloom. He gonna say God gonna judge y'all and do this.
Elijah. That's my boy. That's my guy.
That was Micah.
Elijah.
Oh, Elijah. Yeah.
Can I chime in too on something too? One of the things I think that is tossed around a lot is prophet. Many people truly don't understand the functionality of a prophet. We hear that a lot in church, and I'm sure we've all been subjected to it. It's like they move to whatever is the buzzword of that moment or that season, whether it's a prophet, whether it's an apostle, whether it's a minister, reverend. You hear all these different terms. But when you start understanding a prophet is not a guessing game. And you see a lot of times what people do, leaders do at the altar, they kind of go through a guessing game trying to gather information on what they're going to say. It's almost like similar to what you see a lot of these psychics hustle. The Most High, whenever he dealt with a prophet, gave the prophet instructions, it wasn't as if he was the people that he was bringing the instructions to was unfamiliar with. They were already they already knew their situation, and that prophet was giving confirmation to the situation and giving a way of escape out of that situation. When we think about prophets today versus prophets of old, we have to understand the Most High talked to the prophets differently. He even made a clear distinction, even when he was dealing with Moses, Miriam, and Aaron. He made it clear that he talked to Moses different than what he talked to Miriam, who was a prophetess, as well as speaking to Aharon, who was a high priest. So when we start really looking at these different functions, I believe that part of the problem is we've gotten so westernized, and then also a lot of other junk has been thrown on top of it to actually what many don't even realize when they're doing these things at the altar call. The altar call has basically become a seance, right? Because if that leader's in sin, their spirit's not right, then what spirit are they summoning? What spirit are they calling on to cast out? Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but the scripture says Satan cannot cast out Satan. So that means that you're not actually casting out Satan. You are touching and agreeing with that foul spirit and the other spirits that come with that territory. So going back to that term prophet and some of the other things, we've kind of taken when I say we, I'm matter of fact, let me not even say we, I'm out of that whole thing. But the church has taken a mystical approach to when they're doing how they function within the church, especially when they use the term prophet and they abuse that term prophet and they use it again as a form of abuse, as a form of misuse of power, and also a guessing game. Because again, a prophet is not bringing something to a people or to a person that don't have a clue about what they're talking about. They are what he or she is doing is bringing confirmation.
Correct. And they know how to do things like, I'm sorry, they know how to do things like, I learned this dealing with people that really have that gift. When they're communing, when the gift of prophecy and casting spirits out, that spirit is going to, like you said, agree with the other spirit. If that spirit says be quiet, it's going to be quiet because we're in agreement. It's like me and you in cahoots. I ain't saying it like that, but it's almost like it's a game. It's a parlor trick, and they have to be careful because as a person of the Most High, I don't have to say nothing to the spirit. That demon is going to see me before I walk in the door. And they're going to be like, just like with Christ. When they saw Christ, they said, why are you here? They knew who he was. They know who you are. And it's not a thing of, I got to approach it. It's already in check because it's afraid of what's in you. That's why when people be like, somebody put a curse. No, you have the power of the Most High over you. No curse can lay on your shoulders if you got the power of the Most High on you. So,
seven sons of Sceva ran out there doing something they just seen somebody doing, don't understand it, and then they out there trying to call a demon out. And that one demon said, "All I know, Jesus I know, but who is you?" and whooped all of them out of their clothes. They got beat down to their drawers and ran out by this one crazy demon. Like, it's not a joke to be out here playing, but it's just like Pastor Kelly said, they out here, people in the church that mysticized it and made it this little fairy tale stuff. Oh, I see angels flying down, coming to send us aid. Oh, what Paula White? Oh man, when he was giving Paula White them 3 pieces,
African angels,
the African angels. I'm like, if she don't stop trying to call them demons up over here.
How come they couldn't be Norwegian angels? You know what I'm saying? Why you gotta be African angels?
Yeah, they don't want to do with you, unless of course you in cahoots with them.
That's because she know who the real people is and where the promised land is. That's why.
Mm-hmm. Well, she probably meant Ashkenazi angels.
Well, even to the effect when you, I'm sure you guys know about Beelzebub, when they accused the Messiah of being Beelzebub or operating in the spirit of Beelzebub. What many people don't understand, when Beelzebub is actually the Lord of the Flies. The image is flies, right? This is where you get the movie Lord of the Flies. But when you understand the, especially when you start getting into demonology and you start really understanding Beelzebub, basically what many of those guys were doing in order to cast out a demon, they entered into an agreement with Beelzebub in order to get permission to cast out demons. But Christ had to let them know that don't associate me with that. Satan can't cast out Satan. And that's what they were trying to accuse him of doing because of the authority that he operated in. So you have a lot of people that are entering into agreements with all kinds of demonic spirits and bringing it among the assembly, and many people don't even have a clue of what's being stirred up inside their assembly. I've seen it and witnessed it firsthand, to where as though I have pastors call me asking me to cast out demons out of their children because they don't have any power to do it themselves. I told Sister I had to deal with a situation a month ago. Why? Because all kinds of things that we see happening inside the church is okay, like chakras and even magic towels and magic soap and all of those things are demonic, and not understanding that even when you deal with chakras, if you understand Hinduism, every chakra has a spirit, a god and a goddess, and a demonic sexual ritual that's associated with it. So it's more than just 7 chakras. There are actually 2,000 chakras, right? Because there's over 2,000 gods and goddesses in Hindu. But you see that our people are pulling on all kinds of things, and not trying to throw shade on any people, some of our people, but many people are taking this Afro spiritualism and don't really understand what it is, and now they're tapping into things and opening up portals, opening up gateways. That's where you get the term Babel from, because Babel actually means portal, gateway, confusion, and mixing, right? So these are some of the things that we see happening today that our people had a habit of doing. Always saw that shiny nickel and wanted to give up their dirty dime for that shiny nickel, and began to mesh with other communities. And perfect example is that Shekinah or Shekinah doctrine.
Yep.
That has caused so much and ushered so much perversions inside the church, because that is a bisexual spirit. If people really understand, that is Jewish mysticism.
Yeah.
From the Maccabee spirit. Anyway, I'm not trying to go geek mode here, but
you know what? Go dive into the deep.
Because we were talking about the Shekinah glory, how that spirit has fallen upon the church, and that's why the church is wrestling with anything homosexuality the way it is. That's the biggest problem in most of these churches now.
It's hard to find
out. Did y'all see Lil Nas? Lil Nas has gone from like worse to worse to worse. Every time they get involved in this stuff, I mean, they get worse. I mean, he got to be on the level of Jay-Z and Beyonce now on the witchcraft thing. I'm like, that dude is just straight demonic now.
You notice every time they get into that industry, because again, it's all tied to witchcraft. Like, I know a lot of guys because a lot of people come down here and record and do music and stuff. So I know a lot of people in that industry, and it's full of witchcraft, full of it. A lot of dudes that's even trying to break in, they'll go in and they'll I remember there's a dude down here called Minister, and he give his testimony about it all the time. He was a regular secular rapper, wanted to do his thing, and his crew, they was about to get signed. So he came into the studio one night and he said he looked around and they was all looking crazy, and they was like, "Hey man, we just sold our soul to the devil, and you need to do it too so we can get this money." And then he was like, "Nah, I remember what my grandma said, if the devil real, the God is real." Then he went and left and got saved. But this is for real. Like, a lot of these people that you're listening to are wizards and wizards and witches. A lot of these cats, like we talked about last time with Beyonce, she goes through that stuff in Lemonade. That stuff that she's talking about is a demonic ritual. Even all the stuff that she's doing and how she dressed, like nothing that they do is accidental. And we got to stop just looking at this stuff like regular, and we have to have a discerning eye when we see these things, because these people do this stuff out in the open and people don't care. Like, you mean to tell me Joker's covering their eye, the same gesture since the 50s? You can go back and see old videos of all these artists covering their eyes and doing all these same things. The lightning bolt going down, that's a symbol of demonic. That's a demonic symbol that represents like Satan. The lightning bolt, I think it was David Bowie. He had that on his face covering the one eye with the lightning bolt going down. Like, we got to learn to recognize these symbols that these folks do, because these people do this for power all the time. They want to go deeper and deeper in it, because that's how it's been that way even from when you read it in Enoch, when they was first talking about the angels that came down. What did they do? Before they came down and did their thing, they binded themselves together with curses. So these people, they want to go in here and they want access. They got to get to bind themselves to them curses. They got to make them do stuff. This is why people be like, oh, they be making sacrifices. Like, you see Kanye West, Mama die, then he blow up. All these different artists, they have people that's close to them die, or people that's around them die, and then they blow up. It's no coincidence.
Well, I did and I'm gonna try to bring up a presentation that I did and just show some images, because I believe that was Big Red that was speaking, and he hit on a number of things. And what many people don't understand, and I was in that industry, I could tell you some stories in situations that I was in terms of uncomfortable situations that caused me to completely walk away. I've seen some stuff that you'd be surprised. Many would be surprised, not some of you guys on the panel would be surprised that exists. Demonic worship is real in the industry. It's rampant in the industry, not just the industry of music, but it's in all forms of entertainment. It's inside the church. Many of these people that you see inside the church are people that failed to get a record deal, failed to get a secular contract, so they brought that same stuff with them, and now they call it gospel. And if we really want to pull the layers off and we start getting to root words and all of that, the word gospel actually means God spell or God spell, if you do the etymology of the word. So even when we say God's gospel, that's not, when you do the origin of the word, it's basically you're saying you're casting spells on people. So when you start understanding these little things, I mean, even within the, like I said, within the industry, I mean, I've seen so many people, as Big Red pointed out, that have sold their souls, point of no return. So when we start dealing with, again, symbolism, that going back to that spirit, that Shekinah spirit, that Shekinah spirit, if people understand Jewish mysticism, that is the worship of homosexuality. That is the worship of being an hermaphrodite. In other words, Hermes and Aphrodites, because in Jewish mysticism, they worship what is called the Ein Sof. And the Ein Sof is supposed to be God before God, the infinite one, right? So they teach that the 10 Sephirot, which consists of 10 body parts, right? Supposed to be the diagram of the Most High with 10 different gods, right? But in the reproductive organ section, or you'll see the phallic worship, right? The phallus, which they call the foundational. And then you'll see what is called the Shekinah, which is, you also see they refer to as the truth, or whatever the case may be. But they teach that the Most High is a hermaphrodite. They teach that Adam is a hermaphrodite. And so when you start pulling the layers off, you see bisexuality all over the place. So when you go back to the industry, you'll start seeing how Aleister Crowley has an influence all over the industry. He the one that created saying things in reverse. Jay-Z idolized him. You know, you could go right into rock and roll. What do rock and roll means? While the car is rolling, people up in the front seat rolling, people in the back seat are what? Rocking. In other words, doing all kinds of sexual things. So it's so many layers to this thing. And this is a great discussion. I think that this discussion needs to take place more often.
So,
sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Pastor Kelly. So gospel, God spell, right? Like you were saying with the etymology, how in the world did they get, from the root, right, of what is it, Youngelion, right, to gospel, right? That had to be a purposeful implementation of the occult into Christendom, right? So I'm assuming all that happened with the King James, or maybe the Latin Vulgate or something. I mean, what do you think on that? Where did that come in, that word gospel?
That's around the 15th, 16th century. But what they'll teach you is that it's a poor transliteration, a poor, it was supposed to be, someone heard it say Godspell, and they took it and thought it was saying Godspell. That's just what you'll pull up when you pull up the etymology of it. But a spell
is just that, right? A spell.
Exactly. A spell is just that. Exactly. Yeah. So this is, that's what they'll put inside the etymology dictionaries and some of the things that you see. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It started around the 15th, 16th century. And there's a lot of things that was taking place during that time. And believe it or not, I did a series called Christian Witches. And I talk about how a lot of those guys, those theologians of the 15th century, the 14th century, those guys were operating in witchcraft. It's a fact. They was consulting witches to be healed. They were doing all kinds of things. And when you start looking at lynchings were satanic rituals. When you eating out someone's heart, that's a satanic ritual. That means you're taking command of that person's soul. You're taking he or she life force out of them. And you also began to do what? Perverted acts on that person, sexual rituals, but all under God's spell.
That's facts. When you said about Aleister Crowley earlier and putting things backwards, the old and this junk hurt my feelings because I used to be a Bone Thugs fan. But Bone Thugs' first album, on the back of the album, they had their credits written backwards on the back of the whole album. Like, this junk goes down so much. Rick Rubin, who's if anybody who knows about music, you know about Rick Rubin, from Run DMC to Jay-Z. He been with everybody. And if there's it's a documentary they have for the Black Album, and it shows the inside of his den where Jay-Z went and recorded. I think he actually recorded the song Lucifer there, which is so interesting. And he has the Aleister Crowley Bible. He's a Satanist. All that's in there. Rick Rubin done worked with rock stars and rappers. This stuff is all through all of that. It's all up in it. That's why whenever I see people and they want to start going like into Hollywood and stuff, I'm like, bro, do you really know the price that you got to pay to get in there? Do you want to get in there under this system? Because you don't just get in there and just exist with your moral system. There was what was that girl's name? She was a video girl back in the day, and she got real big, and then she just like didn't. Melissa Ford. And somebody was interviewing her, and they was like, yo, you was real big and you were coming up, and all of a sudden you stopped. What happened? And she kind of like, you could tell she was picking her words. And she was like, there's a certain level of fame that you get, that to get higher than that, you have to sell your soul, and you have to start doing stuff that goes against your morals. And she wasn't with it, and she dropped out. But not everybody is like her, and they'll drop out. Like a lot of people go in and do it. Cat Williams got blacklisted because he was telling on it. If you notice the last really big comedy special that he did, he talked about how he had a joke where he talked about going to Puff Daddy's house and being at a party. And he wasn't just making jokes, because he's like, oh, I went up in this room and I walked in here, and he's like, is that two dudes kissing? Just walking through the rooms in his house, and he seen two men kissing and started talking about all the gayness that he was seeing at the party.
Is that you?
Well, I can speak firsthand. I remember I had performed when I was up in, this is before I transitioned over to where I am now, in my walk. But I remember I had performed over in Brooklyn. I'm not going to mention the artist's name, but I performed and did a great job with my performance. I'm there with my manager and a few other people. And, so afterwards, the person's right-hand person came up to me and would say, well, such and such wants to invite you over to his crib, so that, in my mind, I'm like, oh, studio session. And also I'm thinking it's going to be party continuing over there. And after he walked away, his bodyguard came up to me and said, you seem to be a very cool dude, and I like how you carry yourself. You seem to be no nonsense. He said, well, I'm gonna be upfront with you. He's asking you to come over to his house, but there's not going to be any women over there. Right. And so I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, look, I'm just going to say it like this. There's no studio session. There's not going to be, it's just going to be nothing but men over there. And he said, I just want to warn you. And guess what? I ended up, me and my manager and some of the people that came with me, we left the scene. We had to leave out of the back door, just so that way we wouldn't get into any altercations. You could look up Puffy and some of the other stuff. You could really, with him, and how a lot of them do backdoor things with Andre Pharrell. Even what Big Red pointed out, when you start looking at the different artists, even Run DMC, if you listen to Walk This Way, you play it backwards, it's going to say Hell Satan. When you hear Walk This Way, literally, you play it backwards, it's going to say Hell Satan. But again, like I said, I can share stories upon stories. They'll send women your way. They'll send people your way. And they'll make it clear with you that this is all part of a ritual. This is what they were told to do, to try to seduce you to agreeing to crossing over, to be part of that initiation.
But what's so interesting in it is, and I've said this to people, it's not just the music industry. Some of these pastors,
oh, absolutely, yeah.
Major pastors. Eddie Long wasn't just recently started messing with boys. He had been probably messing with boys for decades. And a lot of these, even when you start talking about the ones that are really not mainstream, when you go to Gospel Music Workshop of America, per se, things happen behind the scene. I mean, it does. You hear some of the things. Now, I don't know what they're doing now, but history shows that people hook up at these events. People hook up at these major events like this. And these are gospel music events. The gospel music industry is almost no different than the R&B industry.
Nope. One and the same. I remember there was a dude that was with Cross Movement. His name was Enoch. He actually passed away. Enoch was a good dude. And he came out. He had an album called Authentic. And he came out and told it. He was like, man, I'll be doing shows and then watching porn in the rooms, in the back in the rooms and stuff. They say that when they used to have these men conferences, the porn in the doggone hotels is like through the roof. Like, this spirit is permanent in the church. Witchcraft always brings the spirit of lust, because that is like the quickest way to transfer demons into somebody, to transfer. That's why they always have these rituals, and they want to molest and mess with kids and stuff, because they want to push these demons. They want to spread out. It's like a nasty plague. And they always use these lusty rituals for it. That's why y'all went so hard against Judah and what we was doing, because people don't understand some of this stuff that they was doing in the temple. It's so crazy how everything now is just so super sexual and it's like all out in the open, but that's like how it used to be. Because if you remember, Absalom went into David's concubines in the view of the people.
That's right.
He went into them in the view of the people. That means the people sat there and watched. People just read stuff and don't read it. Like, how perverted you got to be to sit there and watch that. But this is that same spirit that's still going on even in the church.
Wait a minute. Go back. What? Repeat that?
Yeah, he's talking about Absalom taking David's 10 concubines that he left behind while he fled Jerusalem, and literally took advantage of them publicly on top of the temple, but the palace or whatever, for everyone to publicly see him having his way with these concubine women.
Right.
Wow.
Yes. Nasty.
And that's how y'all be showing that, even it is so funny because, a lot of people want to, big up polygamy and stuff, but I'm always tell them, look at what it did in the Bible. All of that happened because of polygamy, because David couldn't control his lust and went in with Bathsheba and tried to do it secretly. God made an open show of him with his son, which kind of go back to what you was talking about with Kirk Franklin, Sister Eve. Now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, because that's the same situation. He getting put out openly for some stuff that probably was going on secretly. See, everybody knew what David did, but now everybody saw what Absalom did. David kicked out and he do that. Like, that's the same spirit that be running around in the church, because you'll see these pastors. I remember a friend of mine, he had this pastor that he knew, and he kept all the young girls at his house. He would get mad when other dudes would try to date the girls and would dissuade the girls and counsel them, quote unquote, from talking to the girls. And he kept all these girls in his house. What is that?
He had a harem, basically.
Man, that's so.
I'm sorry, Cece, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, it's so much that you see in the church when you're dealing, and just even in the Hebrew community with polygamy. It's a lustful spirit, very lustful spirit. And what people don't realize is a lustful spirit does not care about sex, what sex a person is. It's about fulfilling a need. And people that have a lustful spirit will sleep with anybody. It does not matter, man or woman. They just need to fulfill the need, and it's a desire. That's why people have to be careful when they fall into fornication, because once they fall into fornication, if you get deep into sexual sin, you will look up and start craving things that you're not supposed to be craving. You're not supposed to be craving the same sex, because it goes from that one fix to, okay, I'm used to that fix. Let me move on to the next fix. This is why so many people don't realize that lust it's not a respect of person. That spirit is just feed me. Period.
There was something my mom used to tell me, and I didn't believe it till I got older, because she would say, you'll see a lot of men and they'll have sex with a lot of women. She said, them men be gay, because after a while, you just have sex with so many women, a woman don't do it for you no more. So now, just like you said, you got to go to the next thrill. And I didn't believe it till I started seeing it. You see dudes like R. Kelly, like somebody had mentioned in chat, R. Kelly. Like I used to, back in my young stupid days, I was like, oh, R. Kelly, fine, all this and this and that. I saw the video personally of him and that child, and that dude is disgusting to me now. I'm like, that's just gross. You a whole rich man. You can have any woman you want. You getting a child, But see, that's the point. He's a rich man. He's had all the women that he wants. Now he want to go into deeper and deeper and deeper sin. This junk just keeps taking you. It's just like what they talk about with pornography. It builds on itself. First you start looking at this, and then you go deeper and deeper because it's like a drug. It messes with your brain. That dopamine rush really starts altering your brain chemicals, and then you can't. It's just like when people get a hit of crack. They get a hit the first time, and the hit never is the same, and you go chasing the dragon. But it's the same thing. But this dragon you can hide on your search history.
Man, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. I never got that deep, but when you start dabbling in fornication, you start. I mean, when I went through the process of I'm going to be celibate, and I'm a practice celibacy until the Most High sends me my husband. It's like breaking from a drug addiction. It is. I mean, the first go round, I was like, I'm good. Second go round, I was like, okay, I think I'm good. Let me give us about the third. I was like, I'm about to lose my mind because it's it's like you're starving that spirit that's in you to kill it. And it's like, wait, I'm gonna do something called like wake you up in the middle of the night. And you're gonna sit up in the middle of the night and they're gonna wonder why am I craving? And then you'll look over and you see your phone ring and it's somebody you ain't supposed to be calling you at 2 o'clock in the morning. And some of you will say, well, he'll forgive you. This is just one time. He knows it's hard. So he gonna give you a chance. Go ahead and just fulfill that little need. He gonna don't you know that Jesus saves, he forgives you? Oh, they'll bring back, he forgive you. You on grace. And some just said, if you give in, this demon gonna bring back 4 or 5 of them. So you best to not go. And I mean, I would get calls and it was like once I said, I'm finna get past this, I'm not finna do this. It's like they'll start waking up old boyfriends from the past. And I'm like, where did he come from? And it's just like, oh my, it was a battle. And I mean, I'm gonna be honest. One time I woke up in a complete sweat. It's like breaking a crack addiction because that spirit just causes you to even have crazy dreams. It's just, it was a struggle. Now, I'm good. But 3 years ago, I wasn't. I mean, I got to the point that I deleted cell phone numbers, blocked folks, didn't want to have nothing to do with nobody because I was like, no, I'm not falling back into this sin again. I mean, it got to the point where I didn't want to talk to nobody. I was just all about ministry and the word of God. That was it. That's all I wanted to talk about. And I had to get to a place where I was able to withstand. And even with that, you can never subject yourself to be in an environment to help you fall. Don't go over nobody's house saying, I'm just going to go visit. No, you're not just going to go visit.
You're going to visit.
Yeah.
You're going to fall. You're going to fall. You got to separate yourself from anything. It's like a crackhead sitting there saying, if you sit that crack in front of you, you ain't going to smoke it. Just let it sit there. He ain't going to smoke it.
But think about this. We would have more power as a people if we didn't have television. And television programs us, manipulate us, put filthy thoughts in us as we are young, right? I watch all of this occult stuff that's in there, right? I mean, like even in anime, right? I watch anime, but they're so occultic now, right? That it shows people communing with demons and stuff to get power. And there's no wonder that all of this whole world is full of witchcraft and confusion and people going by pronouns and all of this stuff. I'm like, it's topsy-turvy. It's good, evil, good, right? And so it's like now I think that's why we got so much heat waking up to be in Israel, because we saying come back to God's word, to his standards, to his laws. And so now the devil angry and he comes against you, right? Because now he has a few people that's like ain't buying, drinking the Kool-Aid no more, right? And my question would be this as well, and maybe Pastor Kelly can answer. Do you think there's witchcraft? I know it's in the church, but the pastors, right? Do you think some of them pastors are really witches?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. I can say that emphatically, that many of them are. Many of them are into Freemasonry and a lot of their fraternities that they are part of. They label them, some of them, Christian fraternities, when They're actually homosexual fraternities, you know, but many of them don't even believe what they're teaching. Remember Brian Carn, that bishop or apostle, whatever he is?
Brian
Remember
Carn just got in trouble. He
plagiarized a witch like 4 or 5 years ago.
Never heard
he
of
literally plagiarized a witch. And people don't know, a lot of these pastors start tapping into things, trying to get the new word, trying to have a word that no one has, or a prophecy that no one else predicted. And then they start tapping into all kinds of other stuff, you know, to try to have a new word. Like that pastor down in North Carolina has a soothsayer in his assembly. You know, literally brought a soothsayer in to be part of the prophecy team. So absolutely, many of these pastors are operating in witchcraft. They are witches, because many think that a witch is only feminine. No, a witch is male and female. And then, like my grandmother always taught me, wherever you see a witch, there's a warlock. You know what I mean? There's always a combination of the two. So to answer your question, Jacoba, absolutely. And actually, I confronted a few of them, literally. You know, go ahead. I'm sorry.
They used to come in our church all the time. Like, I used to feel like our church was just like the anti-witch show. I mean, they come in and the first thing they want to do is get close to the pastor or get close to the pastor's family. And they always want to bring you something. Like they come in, they want to preach. They'll say they are prophetess. They always like to say they are prophet or a prophetess. They definitely want to come in there, and they'll come in with the word. They know the word. That's the thing. Witches know the word. Witches know the word better than some of the saints, which is sad. They know the word inside and out, and they'll come in, they'll sound everything churchy, but you got to notice that there's always something different. The devil can't live holy, and there's always a perversion that comes along with their words.
So do y'all think that's why these women coming in with the tight booty fitting dresses and all that stuff?
I can tell you that, because wait a minute, hold on. I used to be one of those women. So let me explain something to you. You dressing like that to catch a man, period. You it ain't even some of, and I'm just admitting this because I'm delivered from it. That I went through the phase of that's how you dress for church, period. If you go into an engagement, you dress it and you're gonna wear the tightest thing you can put on so you can catch someone. That's the game. I came up in the choir industry, I came up in that Pentecostal church, in that whole environment. My club clothes, if you can wear a bottom that you would wear at the club and you wear it to church and they say it's cute, that's a problem. Right. That's a problem. That's why I'm sitting here like it's deeper than just, it's a form of witchcraft because you're trying to seduce a man.
So was church just a social gathering then? Or?
Gosh, yes. That's what it is. You're gonna have a shouting fest, and then after fact, you're going to get something to eat, period. And then you're gonna go and hook up with whoever you want to hook up with after the fact. There was no different.
Right. And I'm gonna tell you, you'd be surprised some of the things that I witnessed firsthand. I've had women come up into our assembly that, of course, you can only see what they're doing and the signals that they're trying to throw at you. You can see it, but many people can't see it. You know, they'll have their legs in a certain position. You know, they'll make sure they're showing and revealing and even throwing certain signs and signals at the speaker, at the leader. You know, literally do those things. And so that's why I thank the Most High for even my godfather, you know, of training me on how to be a minister, how to be a leader, how to be a pastor. He taught me how to make sure I keep my wife next to me, in many cases in front of me after I speak, you know, and we've had to literally send people, ask people not to come back to our ministry. I've literally had women tell me that they're going to come to our ministry to see if they can catch my attention.
Wow.
I mean, that bold, that's how bold it is right now.
That's true.
You know, and so this thing doesn't care. It's kind of like, remember, and many of you guys, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this, the situation, the incident that happened that caused Israel to really become divided before they really became divided later on. But in Judges, I believe it's chapter 19, it talks about how the Benjamites, right, knocking on the door, bamming on the door, They were homosexuals because it's, you know, and they're banging on the door, asking for the owner, the older guy, to say, hey, send out that Levitical guy. We saw him come up in here. Send him out here so we can have our way with them. That was similar to what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah. And what did this guy do? Instead of standing in authority, knocking that down, he threw his daughter out there, including the Levitical priest's wife out there, and they raped her all night to the point that she died falling into the door, right? So doing all kinds of perverted things to her, all kinds of stuff to her. And it said that when they went way overboard with their aggression because they couldn't have the men, so they really took out their frustration on the women, on the two women that they sent out there. So we see this behavior in the scriptures. We see this behavior still prevalent among us. You know, and again, this stuff is real. You'll be surprised what pastors are doing behind the scene after service, having their liquor, having their cars, smoking cigarettes, getting weeded up, and having their own crew behind the scene, and having women come through the back up there doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
Correct. I know all. That's why I say, like, if I told all the secrets that I knew and the things that I saw,
I tell you,
I could never come back to that. Oh, it's already out. It's already out. Where you got, it's so much that I saw, but I praise the Most High that I did my dirt, but I never got too involved. And you know, sometimes you get ready to get too involved, the Most High snatch you and say, nope, I'm not gonna let you even go that far. Nope,
right before you get too crazy.
Yeah, and he'll scare me into a point where I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I need to get a hold of this. But the stuff you see the pastors do now and then, it's crazy. You know, I know one pastor in particular almost beat his girlfriend, let me say this, girlfriend, to the point that she had to be hospitalized. I've heard of pastors inviting a politician to the house and offering, saying that you got to do to get voted in.
Wow.
I've heard of, I've been, the stuff that I've seen, like, for instance, weed and alcohol. Oh, you can get it really fast in the church. You can get weed quicker than you can in the church. You can in the street.
Oh, can I tell you guys this sad story? This is a true story. My godfather, he pastors up in Newark, and I remember like 4 or 5 years ago, it was a guy that would come in there that had AIDS. You know, he was battling with homosexuality, got delivered, but he would come on, you know, during the week for my godfather to mentor him and help him through his situation because he was homeless. So they would provide stuff for him, and then eventually they were able to put a roof over his head before he died. And I remember sitting there, and he shared his testimony about why he refused to go anyplace else. The reason why he literally became suicidal is because he was struggling with his homosexuality. He went to his pastor, and before you know it, his pastor got him propped up inside his pastor's study, molesting him.
Oh.
And said, not only did it happen with that pastor, but then he began to invite other pastors. This guy said that he ended up messing around with over half the pastors in Newark, New Jersey. They were passing him around to the point that it made him just become homeless. And that's when my godfather saw him on the streets helping him, trying to figure out what was going on with him. And then finally he let everything out to him.
That's
said
real.
He was, you know, every person that he went to, every pastor he went to, before you know it, they're molesting him.
They nasty like that. It's like that story I told before about that guy that he was one of the pastors that came through that my mom had met him. I'm glad that we met that guy because that's how we figured out that there was so much of this homosexuality going on, because he just, like, the spirit of truth just came on this dude, and he just was telling us stories, and he was talking about all these different pastors that he would go and he would basically be they like live-in concubine. He would be living with them and preaching at their services, but then he'd be at home messing around with them, sometimes even messing with their sons. and this was a common thing. He used to travel around all over the United States to go to these churches and preach, quote unquote, but he really was sleeping with the pastors behind the scenes.
Hey, do you realize how bad AIDS was in the church? People don't realize that AIDS went through the church like, I ain't gonna say the disease going on now because they're gonna shut me down, but it was that bad.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s, back in the 80s and the 90s, you literally went to more. I remember, and even now, the number of funerals that you went to, the number of funerals you heard about, the guys that you saw at one time that were great singers in the church, and then when you see him, he wasted down to nothing in size, and then you see, you have to go to their funeral. There were friends that to this day I sit and I look back and I say, oh my gosh, the Most High put so much talent into them. But you know what they do? They get them young. They get them at 16 and 17 years old and turn them out. That's the key word, turn them out.
That's exactly what they do. And all this, all this stuff come from that freedom that Christianity preaches in the spirit. Like, oh, you got freedom. Oh, it's okay. Go ahead and watch the little R-rated movie with all the sex scenes and all the nastiness and stuff. And you just sit here and you consume all this culture because there's no distinction. Everybody wants to just go off and do everything. Yes, you got liberty in the spirit. Oh, we're gonna go and we watch this and we're gonna do this and look at that. Look, there's no black show that I could watch now because almost all of them are just lust-filled homosexual shows. Like, it ain't a black show unless they got a black man in a dress. Like, there was a TV show they had on Showtime about a strip club, and the doggone dude that's running the strip club is a gay black man. And there's a rapper that come to rap in the club, and the rapper and the gay black man hooked up, and they hooking up and doing all this, and that was like the big thing. They got on all the articles talking about it, like this is celebrating, like, oh, this is great, this is breakthrough stuff. This is all like, it's like Jacoba said, you gotta just get to the point to throw your TVs out, man. Yeah, like I have stuff on demand, and even some stuff that I used to watch, some anime and all that stuff, I can't watch it no more. I can't look at all that crap because I gotta kind of constantly keep my mind like stayed on the Lord. The idle mind is a devil's playground. Just like Sister E said, you'll sit here and just be calm, thinking about nothing like at all. You could be doing work, and all of a sudden it'll try to throw something in your head, or it'll throw something out there and try to throw something crazy at your way. Just they'll try you to throw that out there, and that's because you fill yourself with all that stuff. But if you fill yourself with the word and you fill yourself with the things of Yah, you have no room for that stuff, and they can't come talk to you no more.
Right. That's right. That's right. Whatever you take in.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go on.
Yeah, I find for myself, I have to slowly move away from stuff. Sometimes I force myself to watch stuff, and I'd be like, I can't do that. And so sometimes my brother would be like, "Hey, check that out. That was a good show." And I go watch it. I say, I can't watch that, and it irks me, Now sometimes I punish myself and I watch it and be like, and I can't do it. And I think the more you get closer to the Most High, the more you got to move away. The problem is, how far can you move away? Because guess what? Television everywhere. You can walk in on stuff, and then it's like, well, what do I do now? I'm gonna play chess all day. You know what I'm saying? It's like it really gets frustrating. That's why I'm like, I can't wait till we go back, to the continent, but I want to go to the continent, once the Most High has set everything up, because I'm going to tell you, this is just my opinion, and it's not going to sound right. I'm going to tell you now, it's not going to sound right, but I think America needs to burn. I'm sorry. There's not much left of it that's worth redeeming other than the people that I wish to be saved.
Right.
I agree. It's so much lust. Like, you can't even. I'm from Florida, so the city I'm from in Florida is known for strip clubs. Some of y'all already know that. So it's like I can't even go down the street without it just being. I'm talking about every corner, strip club, strip club, strip club, strip club, and it's like, bro. And then I don't know who told these people that workout clothes was regular clothes. But it's just like everywhere you turn around now, it's like, I remember my mom told this years ago. She said, it's about to start being like naked summer. She said, you're going to start seeing people just taking clothes off more and more and more and more and more. And we was like, okay, mama, you'd be like, she tripping. But then every year, sure enough. And even now, when I walk out, I tell my brother, I'm like, man, remember when mama said that? Because now you can't, man, I got to walk with horse blinders on. I have to I got to put that scripture of Job in my mind as I drive, because you have to just look forward and force myself not to look. I force myself to look the other way because you can feel that lust drawing to you. See, these women know what they be doing because a lot of them, the same thing like we were talking about, that witchcraft. A lot of times you be looking at a chick and lusting after her and don't know that it's not her that you lusting after. It's that lust that's behind her that's drawing you to her. There's a lot of women and men that are set up as demonic traps that'll just pull people in just to corrupt. There's literally, that's their job, is to corrupt. There are witches that have just like God puts people on assignment, witches go on assignment. And there's dudes that are set up on assignment to come in and ruin your marriage. There's women that set up to come in and ruin your marriage, running and ruin your church. And that is their sole desire. And Satan will dress it up just how you want it and send it right across your way. But you got to be disciplined, man. It's so hard. But you can't. I tried to watch Black Lightning with my son. Couldn't watch Black Lightning with him because the first scene is a doggone, it's a sex scene. I'm like, man, son, we can't watch that. I gotta pre-screen everything we watch because we can't. Even with my wife, I'm like, I tell her, I say, I'm sorry, there's not too much we can watch really because it's like Jacob say, the more I get closer to the Most High, the more this is abhorrent to me. The more it twists in my spirit. Even some video games I used to want to go back to and play, I can't play them. I'm like, I can't. God of War came out on PlayStation 4, and I'm like, man, that game looks dope. Y'all said don't touch it, don't mess with it. I don't even watch the Twitch streams. I don't watch live streams. I stay away from it because y'all said don't. I said, okay, Lord, there's something in that you don't want me to mess with. It is tough because it looks fun, it looks amazing. I'm like, man, that looks dope, but y'all say don't deal with it, and we gotta get to that point where we be holy and consecrated. It's so hard, like you said in here, because everything is designed to make you sin. It's like the entire system, from the way they teach dating and relationships to how everything is just designed by lust and driven by. They had Maxine Waters talking to Megan Thee Stallion about her song WAP. This is they said was a song that was empowering women about glorifying your body part. And I don't cook, I don't clean. Let me show you how I got this ring. Like, are you serious? Are you serious? This is a senator of the United States that little girls look up to, and she got this chick up here that shakes her butt on TV. That's her biggest claim to fame, talking about her vagina and just all the nasty things she do with it. And this is what you want little girls to look up to as empowerment.
Right. Yeah. Do you guys remember a show? Like I said, a lot because we don't have we don't have all those TV stations. I really don't even know what's on network TV anymore. But there was a show that I tried to watch when I could. It was a show called Mr. Robot. I don't know if you ever heard of that show before.
What's it about?
Mr. Robot. It was a hacker. It was a show about a hacker.
Oh,
and him like that, called Mr. Robot. I think came on USA. Well, anyway, besides doing all that stuff, I was like, okay, this could be a tech show. Yeah, it's gonna be kind of cool. The hack, the dark net, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. A part came on one of the show that it stopped me cold. I'm like, never seen it again, never watch it again. Where it was like this. It was the first time I actually seen two men. They just showed it outright, going at it, and I was like, click, we're done. Never, don't want to see it again. Don't care nothing about it because I'm like they are out there like that. And like Brother Jacobo was saying about the anime, there was a show that was that I watched a series that it said it could easily draw you if you're a young person who don't know the truth, of the spirit. It could draw you into it. It was a show called Bleach that had stuff in there that was like, wow, okay, yeah, I seen this. Can't go back to it. It is something that we have to avoid as much as we might enjoy it, and that's hard. And like I said, I saw somebody in the chat say when it mainly watch YouTube. That's kind of what it's becoming to me. Because like there is literally nothing. Even the commercials, they have this one commercial where I think it was one of those dating commercials, and it's two women.
Ugh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stay on. I keep We Woke Now playing. I keep Pastor Kelly playing. I play Yakoba videos. I got Sister Eve videos. I got like a little playlist. Benya, Truth United. I just keep a playlist and I just have everything just playing and going. Even if I've seen the video a billion times, I play it again. Repetition. Get it in my spirit. Get it in my soul. I can't listen to stuff like I used to no more. Like if I'm upset and I go in and I got a beef with my wife, what I used to do when I was immature, I go and there's a song called F That B, and I would be rude and petty and play that song and sit there and stew in it and be angry. But then I had to come to wisdom and realize, how you going to sit here and listen to a song that's basically telling you to throw away your wife, who God said for you to love like God loves the church. If you love your wife like Christ or the church, then guess what? If you mess up, you think God going to tell you to send you away and be like, oh, forget you? So why are you going to sit here and listen to this song and get that in your spirit? And then when it's a perfect situation for the devil to set you up, a lot of this music that, you know, we have out here is a lot of this stuff is just all setups. And they know what they be doing. I'll never forget. I was in college and there was this dude. I don't know why this dude was the devil know who you are. This dude, his name was Azarel. That was his literal name, Azarel.
Wow.
It was a South American dude named Azarel. This cat told me about how he had a dream sitting at the head of a table drinking blood. He used to talk about all this stuff. But I think y'all, because he put me on this stuff. God always put these witchcraft people around me and they tell their secrets to me. Wow. And I'd be so like, dang, like, Lord, you be just revealing. He came in one day, he was super excited. And I'm like, what's going on? He's like, man, this dude, Marilyn Manson, he was trying to mess me up, man. Look at this. He said, look at this. Don't stare at it too much because he's trying to hypnotize people. He said, you see this? He got this lamb thing back here. And he said, he started going in on all these crazy details. But he said this man put a hypnotism spell on the album. And he was explaining it to me, and I'm like learning that these things is real. These folks be putting these stuff in these albums. You be trying to live holy, but you listening to all this nonsense and all this craziness that's inviting these demons in. And how are you going to live holy when you got mess in your house that's inviting them in?
Wow. Wow. That what's so interesting is the process of me healing. I had to cut everything off. I remember I would listen to Pastor Darby. And I'd say this was my daily, this is how I used to walk daily. Pastor Darby would come out with something like on a Tuesday. By Thursday or Friday, Teo would come out with something. I would watch Teo Ministries, or either watch them. They was my Sabbath. Every Sabbath, I would listen to them. And those were the only two that I listened to for a long time. And I didn't watch a lot of TV then. Now I'm in a habit where I may watch a few shows, but other than that, I don't watch a whole lot of TV. And with that being said, it was a process that I had to go through. And that process requires for you to go through deliverance, cut yourself off from anything that can cause you to have a setback. And I didn't realize what I was doing, but the Most High I was so captivated by the Most High of wanting to get to know Him and walk in His will that I wasn't focused on anything else. You're so wanting to please Him that you forget about pleasing your flesh. And it goes to a point where you just want to be, you love Him so much. I tell someone, I said, for me to fall hurts more now than it did back in the day because I love Him so much. Because I love Him so much, I feel like I'm hurting Him. That you say, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing it because the love is real. And it took me to go through that process for Him to show me that everything in my life, my steps was ordered. Even when I failed, He said, I kept you when you failed. You were wrong, but I kept you in it. Because I remember one time I was in college and this guy walked up to me. And I was at a college party, and he walked up to me and he walked up to my friend, but he was attracted to me and I was attracted to him. And I was like, I want to say I was about 19, 20 years old. And I remember we were in, you know how the dorms had like the dorm apartments, and he had this big party. And I was getting ready to go with the dude, but my friend was like, let's go. And I was like, wait, hold on. And I was getting ready to just say, I'm going to stay here with him. But then we ended up both leaving. And the next day I come to work, because we all went to university to Memphis together. So went to work the next day, and she came up to me. She said, girl, I'm so happy we left. I said, why? She said, one of my friends called me and said the guy that was at the party, he is HIV positive. Ooh. And he's drawn. What he does is sleep with women to give them the virus. I remember that I was 19 and that messed me up. I said, what? And I was at that point where, because he was a very, very attractive man. And I'm a young man. I was like, wow. And I'm 19. Now, you know, when you're 19 and 20, you're stupid. And I remember that day. And when I thought about all those times, the Most High kept me through all of my foolishness.
Good job.
He kept me through every ounce of my foolishness. Like I said, when you see friends die from that virus, men and women, and you sitting there and you saying, I know I should have been one of them.
It's because there's no power in the church.
Man.
There's no authority, because why would the pastors teach all that when they living in it? Like I forget the name of that pastor. I've been trying to remember his name. He was over that church that Paula White is over right now. Dude that looked like Will Smith that they caught with the 8 ball.
Oh yeah.
Zachariah
Timms.
Yeah. Like, you know, he had been
Zachariah Timms, right?
Zachariah Timms, yeah, Pastor Timms, Zachary Timms. That's it.
Yeah, Zachary.
Yeah, him. Everybody know he died of a drug overdose, and the family tried to hide his toxicology report. They tried to get rid of everything, but it was a known thing that this man was on drugs. And this is a common thing in a lot of those big churches. There was a movement back in the day called Passion for Christ movement. And again, lust came in there. And I believe it came in after this point, because see, people don't let people, they always want, as soon as somebody gets saved, they want to put them in the pulpit. Soon as somebody gets saved, they want to throw them in front of everybody. They don't let people sit down and be made. You can't just jump in and get into stuff. You have to sit down before the Lord and be made. Like, I didn't just jump. Like, I'm here now, but I was groomed in God from the time I was a young man. And God taught me and had to go through these different things. I don't take it lightly to get up and speak for the things of God, because I'm accountable for my words, and I understand that. But you get people off the street and they out here just talking. They ain't even fully delivered. And they had this girl talk on there who was in pornography. She was a whole porn star. Now, she needed to sit down for at least probably a good 2 years, because that right there was just all kinds of mess. But no, she gets saved. Then a month later, the dude interviewing her on the Passion for Christ thing. And now what she said was some good stuff, but I could feel the lust that was coming off of her even from that, because she wasn't fully delivered. And she talked about how she said they would go on Saturday and have their full porno shoot, do all their videos, and then be like, hey guys, you want to go to church? And they will all go to church the next day, sit in the church, and then turn around and go Monday and start shooting porn again.
You know why?
You know what's interesting?
Because there's no power there, right? When the last time you ever heard hell preached? I don't remember the last time I heard hell preached. So there's no conviction for sin. That's why it's do what thy will shall be the whole of the law. That's what you hear, right? And so today, really, what is a real church today? I don't know if there's any in existence, right? Because I don't know the last time I heard a convicting word at all in any church.
You know what's interesting, guys? Even a lot of the ridicule that we have to deal with for being awakened. Some of us went as far as confirming DNA, also sharing family traditions of knowing that we are the people of the book, and we get demonized. But if you look at the very people that are pointing the fingers, they have broken marriages, all kinds of sexual perversions going on with them. They don't talk about why the Catholic churches call themselves converting people over to Catholicism or Christianity. At the same time, they're raping our people. They won't tell you about those things happening, that right after service, they sodomizing our people. It's just amazing that the church per se point fingers, but then when you start pulling off the layers among those that are pointing the fingers, you'll find out all kinds of perversions at the ones that's pointing the fingers. Those that's so adamant to say we are so dangerous. What are we dangerous of? Well, I think that the reason why they think that we're dangerous is when you look at Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 9, when it talks about the pure language, it's not just talking about cleaning up the language of our people, but if you take it a step further, it's saying that what? He's going to return us to the pure word, the pure commandments of the Most High. We're going to start getting away from the very things that we see happening right now and start what? Depending on the law, statutes, and commandments. They get back to the way that is called, of being followers of the way, getting us back to that place. So it's no coincidence that we see these things. And I guarantee you, and I if you start pulling the turning the lights on all of these guys, you'll see all kinds of perversions within them.
Wow.
I used to know the Calvinists. That was like the big thing back in the day. I know there's an awesome pastor down here. His name is Pastor Tommy. He has a church called Crossover Ministries, and that's a blessed church. But he had to deal with a lot of like cats that was coming in trying to deal with like Reformed theology and stuff. They get real haughty, and it's that same spirit. But all them cats had dirt going on, man. Every last one of them dudes had, like, everybody I know that was on Reformed theology at one point at that time, they all have fallen away. They all have gone off and done all kinds of other stuff. I mean, very few of them is still like, there's only one, and he's actually a rapper right now that's going out and is well known. But everybody else, almost everybody else, they all fall away. They've all fallen away. That freedom, quote unquote, in the spirit, it apparently gives you the freedom to sin, and that's what these cats all be working in. It's all sexual sins, man. It's sexual sins in one form or another.
They have no power. I mean, these are the same individuals that don't believe in the gift of prophecy. Some of them don't believe in the fruits of. I'm not gonna say the fruits of the spirit, but some of their belief systems are off. It goes back into looking at things in the Bible from an allegorical standpoint, and not rather looking at it for what it is, and understand the power of God. Sometimes I sit and I wonder, are they playing the game? Are they playing the part? And when I first came across apologists and urban apologists, it never sat well with me. It never sat well with me. My spirit was always uneasy, and I'm like, something ain't quite right about these dudes. It's a game.
What, Sister E, I agree with you. Same thing with me. I was like, something's wrong here.
Yep.
And I should have listened. But there was all, it's like you can see all the bad fruit, right? But you sort of ignore it and think, well, maybe we'll, we can work together and sort of wake people up and come to a meeting of the minds. But the difference is we wanted to serve Yahuwah. They didn't. We wanted to serve Yeshua. They didn't. See, that was the difference, right? And I agree with you. I mean, there was always something there.
And to Yacob, even with me, when I was took an account and some other stuff I'm working on, but to see the number of videos that they made of me, literally since October 2019, they have made over 60 videos of me.
Wow.
I mean, it's to the point that if I go live, I know they go live. They're watching. I mean, literally over 60 videos of me. That's stalking. That's going well beyond the norm. And so it's no coincidence when we start looking at these behaviors, and then we start looking at start understanding what we're talking about tonight about demonic forces, demonic spirits. You see that what's that spirit? That I can't think of the spirit that laughs and mocks. I can't think of the name of the
just thinking about this spirit.
You see them operating in that type of spirit. They want to mock you. They want to poke fun and all these different things. Those are spirits, and so that's what we're dealing with right now. And that's why the Most High have us in this place of just moving forward and doing what He called us to do. And guess what? The anger on many of them is because we're not engaging. So it kind of gets back into that what is it, like that Whitney Houston song, "Don't Walk Away From Me." It's almost like that type of obsession. That no, you're not just going to walk away from me. You're going to, how many of them are behaving. So, like I said, it's very perverted with some of the things that
fruit
you
booty.
See.
Is it the fruit booty?
I wasn't going to bring that out there, but it is like my uncle, Pastor Jerry Card. That's what he would say. You call them a bunch of fruit booties because he would call it fruit booty behavior. you know. But again, what's interesting, and maybe Jacob and guys, we could do a lesson on this. I did a lesson internally in our assembly called "The Fallen Angel Rites." There's a ritual, a rites among the Catholic Church called the Fallen Angels Ritual. And you'll be surprised just how sadistic that is.
I wouldn't be surprised. I've seen them in South America. There's a church.
Oh yeah,
they carry a skull.
You know that.
Yeah, they carry that skull around. That one. Yeah. See, I didn't know that's what it was called, but I saw them doing that, and I'm like, where is this in the Bible? Like, what are y'all doing?
What is that? What?
What is this again?
I haven't seen it in a long time, but it's a ritual that they do. It's like I saw it done at a South American Catholic church. It's like they walk in with this skull and they do all these rituals with this skull in their hand. Like Pastor Kelly probably know way more about it. He's been studying it.
Yeah.
I saw it done like in a documentary. They were talking about it. I'm looking at this like, where in the Bible is this?
This that's straight up demonic. I mean, skull, is an image of death.
And let me clarify something real quick, because someone said something. Don't block her. That we're saying. I know. Everybody. We're not saying everybody. We're not saying everybody in the church is bad. No, we're not. We're not saying that. My mom is. I always use her as an example. In the church, I just got through talking to her. She was talking about, I'm getting my stuff ready for church, and I'm just like, today is Friday, ma'am. But nobody's saying that, because there are true believers in the faith. There are true believers. What we're talking about is how it's become so that a norm for sin to be inside of the church, and also in the Israelite community. Because if you pay attention, we mentioned the polygamy and all the other stuff as well that goes on. We're not excluding them, but we're just talking about the topic of mainstream churchianity, not true believers.
And you know what? I mean, the congregation are people who are sincere, trying to worship the Most High. And but it's usually in the leadership and in the choirs and in the ministry, that's where usually the problems are. And yeah, it's not every single church, there's a few, probably can count them on one hand, but there's a few that they're trying to do what the Most High has said, and but the rest are trying to make money and trying to build a big ministry.
I tell people all the day, my mom to this day pray me through a lot of stuff. And there's a prayer warrior. I'm talking about a serious prayer warrior. And she is in the church. Some people are not. This walk is not for everybody, what we're doing. Some people are good with where they are, because you don't want to disturb their faith. They believe in Hamashiach. They believe in, if they call him Jesus Christ, they believe and they love him. We don't want to shake their faith. Some are just so far along that you just like, he even says, leave them alone. But I mean, no, we're not
because they're totally sold out to they're living all they know. They're not dibbling and dabbling. I mean, there's always some who are just living totally sold out. I mean, but it is a circus, and I think the foundation is suspect, because it was founded on Roman principles. When you look back into how things were in the little Nicene Council and all that other stuff, it's like, man, it was really messed up.
It was all tied into, basically Constantine just glossed over all the pagan rituals and rolled that all into the church. I mean, when you really start breaking down, it was funny. We lost a lot of people in our church when my mom started preaching against all the holidays. Like, I ain't did Christmas since like 99, 98, maybe even sooner than that. Like, we knew and learned that Christmas was a pagan holiday. I mean, look at the doggone you kiss under the mistletoe. Why is it that as you kiss under the mistletoe? If you ever break in a mistletoe seed, what does it look like? It's a thick white substance. It represents a fertility thing. It's like you kiss under it. It was done for good luck. For all this stuff is lust rituals and nastiness. So when you have the church worshiping and celebrating these lustful rituals, what do you expect? what's in your heart comes out. And if you're doing these things, just because people think that, oh, if I just sprinkle a little Jesus on it, it's okay. No, you still doing those things. That's not to God. That people, you can look at the first sacrifice, that one of the first sacrifices between Cain and Abel to get this example that you have to do something the way God wants it done. Cain got mad because his didn't come out that way because he didn't give the first fruits. He didn't give the best. He said, well, I just got this. God will take it anyway. That's how you doing when you go and you do all these holidays and you do all this stuff. So we're not saying everybody in the church is this way. It's just that the church has a custom. The church has a culture, even though they say it's not about culture. It's a culture of demonicness. It's a culture. They always say it's about the gospel. It ain't about culture. Just preach Christ. Just preach Christ. But then they push this culture of wickedness and witchcraft. And it's like, why nobody can live holy when you got all this nastiness? I mean, look at Joel Osteen. His wife got on stage. This charlatan speaking damnable heresy allowed this witch to get on stage and say, you don't worship God for him. You worship for yourself. Yeah, you worship God to make him happy, but you really worship for you because God wants you to be happy. So when you worship, it's for you.
Preach.
Bro. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Hey, Sissy, can you share this this image? I got to share some with you. Just wanted to share this with you guys before I wrap up because I got to get on the road. I got an engagement tomorrow in the morning, but I wanted to show this image here, and this is from Beyonce's video Oshun, I think Lemonade or whatever, and you know. She does it so fast that if you're not really paying attention to the symbols in it, you'll miss this. Now, I'm sure if you look at it now, you can tell what they're forming here, right? When you start understanding the Oshun culture, it's all about sexual fertility, being birthed through a tree, as you see them forming a tree, but also they are forming a female reproductive organ, and they're showing Beyonce being born out of it. And her hair represents the afterbirth that's coming out of it. So if you look at here, it's forming a yoni, a Hindu yoni. And you see this is her being born out of it.
Even that stuff, that practice that they do, and it's a real popular thing now. So some of y'all women don't get caught up in all this little new age stuff, but they call it steaming their yoni, where they'll go in and they put steam on it and stuff. All that's exactly all tied to this ocean stuff. Like I know a girl that's tied to this, and she's told me all this stuff. And she said it. Beyonce is heavy. She's like, Beyonce, heavy into it. And she just starts telling me all the different stuff. Like Lemonade was essentially her talking about her. There's a ritual that they go through where they dedicate themselves. Like you can't have sex for like 30 days. You got to go through a big cleansing ritual. You got to wear all white. You got a strict set of stuff that you got to do. And then you have like a coming out ceremony where you're like born again and you're dedicated to this deity.
Well, you know the what's her name that played on the start of the movie? What's that? Is it The Best Man? With I can't think of those guys. The Best Man, the girl that played the hooker.
The Best Man.
You know what I'm talking about? It's the movie The Best Man. With they did the Christmas version of it with a lot of black actors and actresses are in this movie. They just did a Christmas one 2 years ago.
Nia Long or
it had Nia Long in it.
Yeah. Was it Sanaa Lathan?
Sanaa Lathan, yeah, all of them was in it.
Yeah. Okay.
Morris Chestnut.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Morris Chestnut.
Yeah, that was the Best Man. I was almost thinking The Wood, but yeah, that's the Best Man.
It was The Best Man, right?
Yep.
So remember the wife, right? The wife of the school teacher, the lawyer, right? Regina Hall, that's her name.
Okay.
She actually pushes what you just pointed out. She sells that yoni crap. She's been doing that for years.
Wow.
But the other thing we need to be careful of, no matter at what level we go, there's going to be an infiltrator. There's always going to be a Judas. There's going to be somebody who's working for the enemy. That's just the nature of everything. So even in this circle here, or anytime we come on here, you never know if there's an enemy in the midst, right? So you always have to have your guard up and be prayed up, right? Because somebody's looking to come in and cause division or to seduce somebody or to cause you to fall and turn away, right? So, we are really in a serious battle. And I think the young people, because they don't have like what we're talking about today, most of them never heard this, right?
Nope.
At least when I was growing up, I heard about hell and stuff like this, but today they don't hear that. And so this conversation, hopefully it gets out there, but understand there's an enemy working in the midst somewhere trying to subvert what God is trying to do.
Correct. Yeah. And we got to be guarded and very careful, because one thing the enemy does not want to see is unification. He wants to see strife. He wants to see fighting amongst each other. And I think this is where I think the Most High, I praise him for it, that we have to be very careful. People don't understand. What's so crazy is we're telling people to come out of sin, follow the laws of the Most High, and then we're called heretics. But then on the other end of the spectrum, where you're learning that the law is just done away with, we live by grace, and people are using grace just for a license for sin. And it's like, so you're addressing us? Because I said something today. I said, I don't care what nobody says. There are people that are excited and love the Most High and following Sabbath and following his feast days, not to glorify themselves, but because they just love the Most High. And people are being condemned, saying they're going to hell, saying that they're going to fall. You can't follow his commandments. Don't follow him. Why not? Why would I want to sin against the Most High? If I love him, I'm going to keep his commandment. Now we understand that Christ is our Savior, but does that still give you a license to go against his word? And that's so sad now that the battle is about them Israelites over there think they can follow the commandments. Are we a problem because we convict you?
And you got liberty to not follow it according to them, but no liberty to follow it. What sense does that make?
It really bothers them when, you tell them that, Sunday is actually not the Lord's day. It's a day that was set aside by the Catholic Church. And I go on Saturday. Like, people was looking at me perturbed because I'm like, no, I don't want to go to no church on Sunday no more. Saturday evening, from Friday evening to Saturday evening. That's why I chill. I try not to do no work. I work in IT. So when stuff break, unfortunately, I'm in Babylon. Here it is. But for the most part, I try not. I don't do none of that. I stay before the word. I chill. I be thanking and praising Yah for the day. I might
you and me, brother.
I'll watch Ben Yah a little bit. I love how he have their little services and stuff. I'll watch with that because I have nothing in my area. Because people look at me crazy. Even my own family. I'm be telling them like, bro, you don't need to be doing that on no Sunday. Oh, okay. They don't be trying to hear you, But when you start talking about that common and that regular thing, they all for it. And it's like, come on, man, we gotta. It's to a point now where I don't want no parts of that stuff. I want no parts of all that because I know all of that mess that come along with it, all that nastiness. These folks says they looking at us sideways because we want to follow the law, but they have no problems in listening and watching these nasty TV shows.
Because they have liberty. liberty.
Hey guys, I'm gonna have to give it a roll. I gotta get up early in the morning. I'm gonna have to roll on a 3 hours of sleep. So, but this has been great. And if you guys on tomorrow night, I'll be available. But
safe
I'm
travels.
Have to run and get ready for this engagement tomorrow.
Yeah, blessings, Pastor Kelly.
But appreciate all you guys. Great discussion. Need more of these, like Jacoba said, especially for the young people.
And I just want to give a special shout out to you, Pastor Kelly, man. You've fed my spirit a lot, man. And I really thank you for being obedient to y'all, because I know it's not easy. As soon as you put out one of them fire videos, passing out them 3 pieces, the devil want to start causing havoc, man. So I'll be praying for you and your family because I really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. And appreciate you as well. Appreciate everyone's support. And I'm actually going to drop another video over the next couple of days. I've been working on it for a while. So I'll give you guys a heads up when I drop it. But thank you for your prayers. Thank you for the love and support because it's much needed. We all need it, especially with the climate we live in.
Whew.
Yeah.
It's this Babylon is not designed to live holy, man. You can't even watch commercials, bro. No. I've been saying it for years, but I'm like, they use sex to sell butter.
I have to cover my daughter's eyes watching commercials.
Yeah,
It's really
Yeah,
bad.
it's bad. I mean, it's really terrible, and it's like this, like what like Ruhama was saying. They got liberty. They got so much liberty. They got churches that teach people how to do yoga. They doing yoga in churches. It's like, come
Hot
on,
yoga.
Man.
Hot yoga.
I'm gonna tell you something, Big Red. Your voice is throwing me off because I'm hearing a little Benaiah in your voice. Benaiah. I'm having to constantly say, wait, you sound a little bit like him. Like it's confusing me a little bit.
That's funny.
But I mean, yeah, it is what it is. We have to pray, like I said, and I want to reiterate that we're not beating up the church. We're beating up sin. Sin, that's key.
Right.
We're attacking sin because sin has now become a norm in the environment that now that we're speaking against sin, we're being heretics. Like you putting a yoke on my neck.
right.
Telling you to come out of sin and that's putting a yoke on your neck.
Right.
So we're asking you questions like, show me in the word where Sabbath is done away with. Well, Jesus is my Sabbath. He's Lord over the Sabbath, but Paul followed the Sabbath. We love Paul. You don't follow. I've heard people say David is a Christian. I'm going to respond.
What?
I've heard somebody say that before. And when this was in my early Israelite days, when I was just like going in on everybody on Facebook. I got to going off on him. He blocked me because I said that. Wait, hold on.
He must have never read Psalms.
Yeah.
And then somebody said, "Well, Jesus." The same guy said Jesus was Christian. I said, "What?
No.
What?
What?" He has a prominent channel. I'm not gonna say his name, but he has a nice sized channel. And he said we used to be Facebook friends, and yeah, he blocked me because I was like, I want to see. Give me the scripture on that. I'm a little confused. Did I miss that in Sunday school? Because my mama faithfully had me in Sunday school. I'm trying to figure out what chapter is that. I'm getting mad at myself because I thought I missed something.
They even have that Christian fish. See, it's so much witchcraft that's tied to Christianity. That fish, there was no fish. They ain't never draw no fish like that. That fish is tied to the water.
You talk about the fish.
Yes, the water fish that they be drawing and putting Jesus in the fish. All that stuff is tied to all these water spirits, like all these spirits that come out of the water. If you notice, like I talked about before, the the emblem on Starbucks. They got the woman
that's
of the
a
sea.
Nephilim.
Right.
Yeah, but
they
this
have
fish
all this
now. That's but the fish, Big Red. You dissing the fish all these years. I've seen the fish bumper stickers, the fish key chains.
Well, if you want to see fish, if you look up Apkalu, you'll see some fish. And then you'll see the source of all of this stuff. A lot of these things come from aquatic spirit. A lot of these demons, when you start reading about these different gods, they all get tied back to these aquatic spirits and stuff.
Oh my goodness. I was today years old finding out about the fish.
Let me ask a question though. Let me ask a question or a view that said that I've understood that to be, going back to, first century Jerusalem. This is why I understood it to be. I know it was called the fish was called the Ictus, was supposed to be a sign to believers, because again, this was the time of the Roman Empire, and when Yeshua told them and said, you should be fishers of men. My understanding is that symbol came out of that particular scripture, and those were put like on like certain houses to let other believers know that it was safe. That these people were believing, and it was safe to be in that house, because back then you couldn't proclaim, Yeshua as king, because that was your head if you did. Is that incorrect, or?
And that's what
I've heard them saying it, pull it to that, but see, it was done out of Ephesus, and you got to when you start reading about Ephesus was where they had a lot of divination and stuff going on. Like that was where they had the pit, where everybody would hang around the pit and get high, and then start divinating and doing stuff. Kind of like now, you notice that people bringing back psychedelics and the drugs and stuff. So a lot of these different things that was tied into that old stuff just gets Jerry, pulled into Christendom, which we see happen all the time in a lot of stuff within Christendom, like gospel, the gospel, there's these different translations and stuff. So a lot of these things that they've done and we've accepted, we really got to double check and watch them things. I'm looking it up now, but it was a thing I had came across that we had studied out years ago about this fish thing, and it's all tied to all these different spirits and stuff, because a lot of these spirits is all tied to the sea. Because I remember my mom used to read she had a lot of friends from Africa, people that she had like on prayer lines and stuff. And they would had these different books, and they would always talk about how they would go and sit by the sea and astral project their body down underneath to a city under the water to receive instructions on what they were going to do. And they received instructions.
But that's the whole thing. Darby taught. Darby was real big about teaching against the marine spirit.
He was. He was the only pastor outside of my mom who taught that. Nobody really teaches that about these marine spirits, and we go get our coffee from them every day. They tied to Nike, the goddess of victory. All of these different things, like we put Nikes on our feet. That's the goddess of victory. That ties back to these demons. Like a lot of stuff. It's just so much in our culture, but it's tied to all of these spirits that come from back in the day.
See where we're at today.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Where we're at today is the externalization of the hierarchy by Alice Bailey. And basically you have the occult externalized into everyday life now, right? Everything you do is tied to witchcraft, to the occult, and all of these type of things. And some people doing it and they don't even realize it. And as you said, I mean, when you go and get a cup of coffee, it's dealing with Dagon and some of the, like you say, marine spirits. And be honest, all of these old ancient mythological, and I talked about this on some of my shows, these mythological beings and, demigods and demi-humans, all of this stuff is being restored. And so even as we see with the jab, right? The jab is manipulating people and making them transgenic beings, right? They don't know it. And so we're pretty much going back to what was happening during the times of Noah.
Yes. Okay. Everyone on the chat. I mean, if you didn't know that this fish was a Dagon thingy, just put one. Just am I the only one? I cannot be the only one.
Yeah, they did worship. Yeah, Dagon was a Dagon was
okay. Just put a one if you didn't know this either. I mean, somebody please put one. Oh, there's one.
But no, it's not a commonly known thing because nobody teaches this in the church, because they always, want to tell you to just focus on their books and the things that they write. They want you to read their commentaries and they want you to read all this stuff that's already filtered through their nonsense, so you can't tear it back and see all the witchcraft that they have tied into. I mean, look, they had people they took from speaking in other tongues when they were literally speaking other languages to this Toyota Honda nonsense that they be running around doing in the church.
When I was young, a lot of the old white pastors and preachers, they used to teach on all this stuff, right? All of this esoteric stuff, hell, all this stuff. And now you don't hear a peep of it. I mean, they really infiltrated the church. Well, what we call the church.
Nobody talks about hell no more. Nobody talks about sin and the wages of sin being death. A buddy of mine that rap has a verse that I love to this day. He's like, God is love, but he got a bad side like the Punisher. Like people just be skipping over all the different, the things, the stuff that God say. Like the reason why we went through the stuff that we went through, all of the sin and all of the nonsense that we had going on is why we had the 400 years of nonsense that we had to go through. So I'm looking at that and I'm like, I don't want no parts of something that's going to lead to that. And then when I pull back Christianity and I see that a lot of these rituals and stuff that we doing and all this stuff like gospel, okay, like you said, the gospel music, it's nothing but just the secular industry with a little bit of Jesus sprinkled on it. They all sinning and homosexing and sleeping with each other wives. There's no different. Look at that. What they had, Preachers of Atlanta. This one pastor,
I know exactly.
He had a whole house talking about I got a man cave house.
But you know why that nobody knows about it is because if they try to teach it, right? A lot of times the way things are set up now, they're gonna kick you out, right? And so now people have acquiesced to the system. They don't fear God, right? And so like you were saying, they'll keep you. Let me go here with it. They'll keep you in that New Testament, which is great, right? It's great. But what happens when you read the Old Testament? You see a God that don't play. In the Old Testament, God was like, I did this to my people. I'm going to do it to you. You better do right. You better act right. If you don't, all this stuff that happened to them going to happen to you. If you do this, I'm going to do that. And guess what? To the third and fourth generation, you're going to be cursed. And go wipe out the whole people. They don't understand who the Most High is. See, they got this surfer type of God, right? The long hair and you know what I'm saying? But the beach surfer. But the true God, he don't play. He's a king, right? And the king sometimes say off with his head. You see, they don't get it.
They think in democracy. See, everything got to be fair and democratic. They don't understand. I mean, I praise God for Miles Monroe. That was such a great man of God. Y'all, he resting in y'all right now, him and his wife. That was a blessed man. He was the first man of God that ever really put it in my head that the people in the book were black, because he taught about Adam and taught about Adam and how he was in there and how he would greet Yah and how he was a black man. He gave the analogy of paint. And he said that if you take black paint and put oil in it, what happens? You get all the colors. He's like, Yah has he shows it even in science. He shows it. Like, if everybody, we all nerds here, RGB, how do you get black? You turn all the colors on, max color, 255, 255, 255. I know it by heart. You turn on all the colors. You get every spectrum of the color, you get black. That's God even letting you know, even through science. So it's this Jesus that they teach in the church ain't the same Yah, even Jesus himself. Because if they taught Jesus how he was really taught, those money changers were thrown out because they were taking advantage of people that wanted to take that wanted to worship Yah. People don't understand that in the temple there was layers to the temple. Not everybody could just walk in. There was different sections. The first section was typically for the Gentiles, they let them come. The next section they have for the women and the children. The next section will be the men, and then into the holies of holies, the inner court and the holies of holies, only the priests could go there. So these people was coming in as Gentiles. They wanted to worship, but they didn't know. So they in there selling they Peter Popoff towels of get this, or they selling they holy water.
No.
Mr. Earpiece himself,
not Peter Popoff. Now, come on now.
But see, that's the same people. That's the same people that's gonna say, "Well, Jesus shouldn't overturn the tables and hit them with the whip, right?"
Right.
Because that's what they tell us when we be telling them, hey, a little strong on it, and they're like, "Well, that's not Christian like." No, maybe it's not Christian like, but it's Bible like.
Jesus told his own mama, "Who's my mother and father? But they that worship the Lord."
Yep.
People be out downplaying the gangster of God, but it's a righteous gangster. But everything that he said, he went up to the woman at the well, told her, "Oh, you ain't got one husband, you got a lot of husbands."
Yeah,
that's the nice way of telling her, "Hey, girl, you need to kind of chill out with all that." Like, and he went in like he
put all business in the street.
Come on, man. He went in and told everybody I forget the one woman that wasn't Hebrew dog that came up to him and wanted to learn. And he said, "Nah, I ain't here for the dogs."
Yeah,
he called the woman a dog.
I don't give the children's bread to dogs.
Right. But she humbled herself and said, "Even the dogs get the bread," and bam, that's where her blessing came. See, they don't want to humble themselves. And that's why America's going through what it's going through right now. That's why even in the church, why the lady came, was like, "Oh, y'all attacking everybody in the church." Why do you get offended when we bring truth? If you get offended when truth is brought forth, you should pause and check yourself. Yeah. Because every time, sorry, go ahead.
And what did the Most High tell Job? Where were you when I did all this stuff? You know what I'm saying? Don't be talking to me. Where were you?
Did you pull Leviathan up by the nose?
Exactly.
I laid the foundation. Where was you at, Job?
Yep.
Like, what you got?
Where you at? Because even Job, who thought he was good, still had humbleness. It's a constant thing to humble yourself. Even David said, "Lord, my heart is not haughty." You got to constantly check your heart, constantly look into yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you'll end up like Solomon. You'll be out here again, leading the lust, leading the witchcraft. It's a pattern. There's patterns to this thing. They don't really, the Bible is far more graphic than people give it credit to know. There's a lot of just plain crazy stuff that happened in the Bible.
People don't understand, what God has showed me is that, everything you have that you say you're good at, and everything you have that you say you love and you enjoy comes from him. If you're good at football, if you're good at singing, it comes from him. Enjoying of food, enjoying everything, whatever it is, it comes from him. So he has the right to tell you anything. And that's why I say, I understand why, the prophets say it's all vanity. It is. It's all vanity because it's all about him. He's everything we have and who we are. Like for instance, God showed me how we take for granted our families, right? And the social interactions that we have and how we enjoy sitting down, having a barbecue and having a drink or whatever. All of that is from him. You wouldn't have it unless he gave it to you. And so that's why it's all vanity. That's why I counted all lost but for Christ.
Correct. And that's key. And things that people don't realize that when you're blessed, people say you're not blessed because of your own actions, because he tells us not to do things so that we can be in good standing and don't have issues. Look at the simplest thing, like don't eat pork.
Don't eat pork.
Don't eat pork.
Oh, boy.
Don't eat
pork. Hurt some people's feelings, boy. They can't. They out the door.
I don't put a yoke on my neck. Well, tell that to the doctor when you got high blood pressure. Or better yet, I did some research. Some geneticists think that pork is tied to MS.
Oh, really?
I was reading a medical article yesterday, and I was like, wow, I want us to do an extensive look at why did he say don't eat pork? Why did he say don't eat the bottom feeders?
Because they eat the dead things.
Correct. And anything, and he told us already, don't eat dead things.
Don't eat dead things, don't sleep with dead things, all that. I don't know why you have to tell somebody not to sleep with something dead. That makes no sense.
So the thing is, we're fighting against him when he's trying to make sure life is easier for us. Continue. Why did he want us to have Sabbath, a day of rest? He said Sabbath is not made for man, but man for what? Did I say it right? Yeah, for the Sabbath. I think I said it right. But the Sabbath is meant for you to rest. So the Most High knows you're going to work 6 days out of the week. You need 1 day to rest. This is the day that I'm giving you to rest.
Yes.
See, people don't understand. Death and hell are actual spirits. They're locations, but they're actual spirits. God wanted us to have no parts of that because it was foreign to us. That's why when Adam sinned, he said, you're going to die within the day. Like that death didn't there till he sinned. So even when they did the Nazarene vow, they couldn't touch dead things. When they had whenever they had funerals, they had to consecrate themselves and be pure before they came back into the assembly. Like he did stuff for our health, and he also did stuff for a spiritual reason. See, that's what they call the types and shadows. It has multiple reasons. See, y'all have science. People always in the church, they always try to separate science and God. No, science and God go hand in hand. Yes. So a lot of the things he told us had scientific things to help with bacteria. That's why he would say when a woman was on her issue, she had to separate herself, not because a woman was lesser, because he wanted to keep things set and clean in the camp. He wanted to have a cleanliness that was there. They didn't understand these things about bacteria and all of that stuff, that you don't hang around a dead body and you don't let that sit there because you don't want to have that sickness spread in the camp.
One thing people don't realize, that what is the cycle? A cycle is what? Death.
Come on, you shedding an egg.
That's death. And that's you can't. People don't understand that. Ooh. That's death. So why are you gonna put life with death?
Yes,
because the sperm brings life, but your eggs are coming out. That's death.
That's death, and don't eat them.
Man, death.
Well, I saw that on the Ask God movement or that station, that channel, and he did this presentation that I think the witches or something were telling you to drink the blood from your cycle.
That's a thing,
or take a bath in it and stuff, because
that's gross.
And I'm like, I was like so grossed. I was like,
it's called getting your fangs. That's a real thing.
They
call it getting your fangs.
That's gross.
I mean, it's death. I mean, you're not supposed to touch blood like that anyway. And it's just like everything that Yah is against. It's like the enemy is just pushing it on people, and just all this foolishness and wickedness. When I heard that, I was just ugh.
They had a convention that just got shut down. This is, it's just like you said, Rahuma. They have everything right now is against Yah. There's all these little subcultures are coming out. There's a subculture they call furries. These people will dress up like, I kind of figured you might know about that. Aerospace. These cats is weird, bro. These is like the weirdest people. They will dress up in furry animal suits and start having sexual relations and junk and have like full relationships with this. They get off by looking at anthropomorphic animals and stuff like that. Like,
that is so gross. Oh my gosh. That's another part. That's another part of the law. It goes against bestiality.
Yes. Why, you know what? Like Darby said, why did the Most High have to tell people not to do this stuff?
Correct.
People wasn't doing this stuff.
That's it.
But the thing is, they'll say, "Don't mess with my liberty. That's my liberty." Do you know what that means? When I really read it, I was reading through the law, and I said, some of these things I'm not gonna do. Just I'm not gonna. A man should never sleep with his mother like he would sleep with his wife. No, you're not gonna do that.
And you don't sleep with crocodiles either. This is disgusting. The Egyptian women were doing that. They were doing all like weird sex stuff.
So some things we just I'm not gonna do as a believer and as a human being. But there are people that are walking around here doing that. So when people say, that the law. Now I understand Christ is my savior. Let me say this. Let me scream it from the rooftops. But
now y'all see why the world hates the Israelites, because the Israelites saying live holy, while the rest of the world want to live pagan and do all of the fleshy stuff.
Right.
And the thing is, we have to deal with things in love and give people grace. And we're gonna say that, and I want to say that because none of us are up here saying that we holy. We fall, you fall. But guess what? The key to falling is not planning to fall.
Right. You don't read about David killing another man, taking his wife. You don't read about that. That's why y'all say he was a man after his own heart. He had his faults and he fought. And they love to point that out when you have a fault or you do something that's petty in your spirit or something like that. Because, I've heard some of the, I came in a little late to the whole like urban apologist thing, but I've seen some of those videos and I've heard some of them go off and some of their things. And I'm like, man, it's easy to get in your flesh. It's so easy to get in your flesh, but you got to take a different stand. You got to take a different standard and walk a different way, because they say you got to realize, I think we was talking about the mocking and I had pulled it up. Let me see if I got that thing right here. Oh, it was Isaiah 57:4. Against whom do ye sport yourselves? Against whom make ye a wide mouth and draw out the tongue? Are ye not children of transgression, a seed of falsehood? That's Isaiah 57:4. Like, that's what they be doing right now, because we want to live holy. They making fun and they laughing because we want to just do what's right, because we want to sit down on Saturday and reflect on y'all like he did and he told us to do. They going to get mad, but then they out here encouraging all of this stuff that leads to all of this nonsense that we just been talking about.
Opening doors for things. Like even now they want to start teaching kindergartners about sex and stuff, and basically they're grooming them. That's all it is. You don't introduce that type of information. Where are they going to go with it? Anything you take in, it's going to come out. No matter what age you are, it's going to come out one way or another, and you're going to act out on it, or if you watch too much of a certain thing, or it's whatever you interact with, it's going to come into your spirit. It's in you. And what are these children going to go with that? They're grooming them. It's just evil.
That drag queen story time. I think that's what you're talking about, where they have.
No, they're talking about actually putting it in the schools where, not just a drag queen, not, you go to the library and these weird men, women are there. It's like they want to incorporate this into the educational system. And I don't know what city or state is doing that, but they want to incorporate that where they are going in and they will explain to the children about different types of sex acts, homosexual sex acts, to normalize it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Aerosmith.
No, I was just thinking back to when you talked about the furries and and all that stuff. It's like the programming. You said even from when we were younger, some of the cartoons that had those anthropomorphic characters on there who were, sexually, out there. And the one came to mind was Thundercats.
Yeah, Thundercats, they had that one, but you were also cartoons is a whole thing even of itself. The cartoons wear gloves because it's mimicking the blackface minstrel shows. Because when they used to wear the blackface, they used to wear gloves.
That's exactly
why even back in the day, Elmer Fudd they made him look like a Hebrew, and they had him black and goofy and stupid. So cartoons in and of themselves is just like, was ridiculous. But yeah, even they used to have cross dressing. Elmer Fudd used to dress up and like a girl sometimes, or Bugs Bunny dress up like a girl, then Elmer Fudd go and kiss Bugs Bunny.
Right. But they thought that was, again, that's what we saw as entertainment. Because a lot of the cartoons that I saw, back in the 70s and 80s, again, you're not thinking about I think, moral, because again, God wasn't part of, they tried to give moral lessons. God was not part of what they had out there. So as children, we got programmed to see things in a certain way. And so, like I said, those people doing furries, they probably think about the stuff that they saw when they were kids. Like, oh, I remember this character was cute and it was an animal.
Second Exodus talking about cow and chicken. That's the truth. Because you had that devil with his little booty hanging out, running around, like all of these gross cartoons, bro, that we had. And they're even worse now. Like, this whole system is designed. Like, you can't let your kids watch nothing, even children shows. Like, they are programming. Like, you got to actually raise your kids. You can't let your kids see the government. And the society will tell you, oh, just turn on these television programs and let them put that in on your kids. That's so they could program you. There was a dude, George Russo. He had interviews with Rockefeller. He had met him and befriended him, and he put his interviews out there. Like, he's dead now. I believe they ended up killing him because he was revealing some serious stuff. And he talked about the Rockefeller came up to him and said, hey, why do you think that we gave money to the women's rights movement? And, Russo was like, well, it's the right thing to do. Women should work and, women should have equal rights. He's like, nope, you're naive. You think too short. He said, if the women are working, now we can tax them. He said, and then when the women are working, now they can put the kids in daycare and we can start indoctrinating them with our morals and our thought processes earlier. They plan this. All of this is all a part of the plan to keep you out of the house, keep you working so they can indoctrinate the kids.
You know what? And I praise y'all that I did get a chance with my daughter, and I see a big difference in her. That from I think the age of when she was born until she was 5, I was a housewife, and my main thing was taking care of her. So a lot of foundational things I was able to teach her. And by the time she got to school, I still was so heavily involved with her that nothing was able to kind of slip through the cracks per se. And see, parents don't want to do things no more like watch TV with your kids. They want to watch their show and send their kids upstairs to watch TV. There were many a days me and my daughter would Saturday morning wake up and watch TV together. It was never time that I mean, we spent a lot of time together, but parents don't want to do that no more. Like even with, some people who do these lives and have kids and they spend hours doing lives. My mind is, you have small children. Where are they? Because when my daughter was small, I didn't have time to do nothing but watch her, keep her from hurting herself and anything, and her beating the dog up. She'd be in there telling the dog, no. No, I'm just joking. But she would she was busy, but she was a kid. But I mean, people don't want to do those things anymore. I used to spend Saturdays, wake up, cook breakfast, we watch TV together.
Man, my mom used to do the same thing. And I used to get mad because whenever I remember we used to watch Dragon Ball Z, man. And she gave this one message. I'll never forget it, man. Because she looked and she ain't know nothing about it. But she said, I don't know. It's something about this show. And she used to do that. I'm like, uh-oh, I know what's coming. She'll look at it and go, And next thing we know, next Bible study, she come in there. She done did a whole research on it, done broke it all down about Journey to the West, how they all represent the different gods and all that different stuff. but she put us on it. I ain't like it as a kid, but I'm thankful for it as an adult because it makes me more watchful in the stuff that I watch. So now when I'm watching something, I'm looking to see what's going on behind the scenes, and I'm like, nah, this ain't it. This ain't what's right. I'm gonna have to get rid of that. I can't watch that. I can't deal with that. And you got to sit down and do it with your kids. I sit down and I watch stuff with my son, and even like Disney, like Disney Channel, I'm cool on that. Because all they talk about is getting girlfriends, boyfriends, and they little young kids, and that's all they talking about is girlfriend, boyfriends, and going out. And I'm like, bro, you 13 years old. You don't need to be thinking about no girlfriend. But if that's all you see all day on TV.
But I'm tell you some Disney. Some of these channels are demonic anyway. They got one guy that I think he was either with Disney or writing for Disney. He was on Good Burger. He got in trouble for messing with some of the girls. Oof. The bigger white guy that was in Good Burger, with the two black guys.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, he was that big chubby white dude that would be in there, the manager of the store.
And he's an ish. That's all I gotta say. He's an ish guy.
Yeah, I mean Weinstein.
Yeah, and he actually from Memphis, but he got in trouble. He got in trouble for messing with those girls, and they had to kind of kick him. And it wasn't Weinstein. His name wasn't Weinstein. I forgot his name, but he was the big guy in Good Burger. He played in the actual show or the movie. I forgot his name. And he also played in a couple of the 80s shows. I forgot the name of it. But he was in Disney. He was messing with some of the girls, and they would talk about how he would send pictures to them and send text messages, and he was weird. And put it like this: every time a child goes into Disney, they come out adults with problems.
Look at what's your girl name that was from the Cosby Show? She all kinds of messed up. Raven Simone.
Oh yeah.
She was and tying back into what we talking about, she was a whole psychic on the show. She would sit there and see the future, and they would use her psychic powers to run. I mean, they teaching these kids demonic stuff. Winx Club. Winx is about a whole bunch of little witches and all this little stuff like that. Shoot, even Sailor Moon. I had to start watching Sailor Moon back in the day. Sailor Moon running around with a crescent moon and a talking cat.
A talking cat.
Mm-hmm. And a crescent moon. Like that right there to just tell you all you need to know. And she calls on the power of the moon.
Oh, man.
Yep, and all them different Sailor Mars, Sailor Jupiter. Yeah, basically it was astrology being taught.
Yes, sir. It's heavy. It's heavy into that. See, that was in other cultures. This is their normal culture. Because like that's what they do every day. Like there's a festival in Japan where they literally walk around with wooden phalluses. They shape like phalluses, and it's like a festival. They literally everybody walks around. They have glasses with phalluses on it. Like you just walking around and you just see this everywhere. This is a regular holiday.
I think I saw a video on that where they had this big ginormous one. And this guy just let this little kid pet it. I don't know if it was on someone's video content. It was Thoughts, Camera, Action, maybe. And he exposes a lot of that stuff. It was like, man, what are you doing? Ugh.
And people just be doing this stuff. You got Christians that be in a marriage bed and they'll practice the Karma Sutra. That's demonic. All that stuff was set up nasty ways, and it was nasty. There's a relief from Sumeria. And it's funny, the picture that I found, they put a quote under it saying that, it's the two priests and they're bowing down to their goddess. But when you really look at it, they're having sex in front of this big angel being. This ain't nothing new. These demons and angels been doing this for years, and they got people acting this stuff out, and they want to train it up in the kids. This is why all this mess is getting worse and worse and worse, even for children.
And all of these cultures worship the dragon.
Yes. Yes, all of them. Big
culture, all of them. Yeah.
Japanese, their chief deity is Amaterasu, who was a dragon.
Mm-hmm. The Chinese, the same thing. Like I said, watching the kung fu movies back in the day. Where would they always run into? Either a Buddha or some dragon or some type of ancestor worship was part of the movie.
Mm-hmm. It's always been tied to that stuff. Bruce Lee, that's some of the reason why he lost his life. Again, you got to look at these things. Bruce Lee died young. He had they even talked about it. And if you ever watch the movie Dragon, a Bruce Lee story, it literally talks about it. I recommend watching it and to see it, just to see that one part where it shows him battling a demon. But in the dream, of course, he, in the movie, it shows like he won against the demon, but you can only win against a demon if you call on Yahashua. You ain't even gonna beat no demon with no kung fu skills. You can't beat no demon like that. And it killed him. He died mysteriously. And then his son, Brandon Lee, died on the set of The Crow. He got killed by a real bullet in the gun on the TV set. Just crazy freak accident. But that's them demons. They don't play fair.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're nothing to play with.
Yeah, you got it. And that's why you have to pray over your children, because you don't know what another person has done to cause something to fall on your children.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I can give you a prime example of that with something we should let our son watch. And practice on the outside, it looks quite innocent. It wasn't a cartoon; these are real people. And this is what was going on. We talked about the spirit that influences your children. There was there's a YouTube channel, and it was a family, and they did something called surprise eggs. It was these eggs that had all these toys and stuff in it, and say, "Oh, look at what I got!" And this different toy. My son began to say, "Oh, I wish I had that. Oh, I wish I had that." And then it hit me. It's like, wait a minute. They are teaching these children idolatry. They're teaching them to covet their neighbor's goods. And they were just like that. Again, on the surface, it looks perfectly innocent until you realize, what are they teaching their children? They're teaching, basically privilege. Again, it's like, oh, you're going to get this and get all these, they get these things, new things every other day or every week, and say, I got this toy. It's teaching children to envy. It's teaching children to, idolize getting these things. And I saw that with my son, because he would be upset because and it's like, nope, no more surprise exit. That got cut off.
But think about it, how even capitalism in and of itself teaches selfishness.
Yes, it does.
Right? And so, the whole Ubuntu in Africa is completely different from capitalism, which is why they're trying to make the whole world selfish, because now individuals have to stand by themselves. And guess what? You're weak by yourself. But as a community, you can take down somebody by working together. So they've done well to destroy us, which is why we really need the Most High, because we don't know. We're like babes just born, right? And we like, what the heck going on here? What is this? What's this? This is a chair. What is this? This is a sofa. What is this? This a house? I'm just a little kid, and they're gonna tell you, well, no, that's not a chair. You know what that is? That's something else, right? And so you say, oh, that's what it is. It's something else. Okay, well, that's a something else. And so people are gonna be like, okay, yeah, that's a something else. And now all of a sudden they manipulate you. They got you doing whatever they want. That's why I'm telling you, our people are broken. Yes. Even the best of us are broken, and we need to be restored.
Absolutely. When I was a young child, before my mom got saved and stuff and everything, they was in the sin. They was into witchcraft and not witchcraft. Whew, just been talking about it. They were not, thank God. But they were, they was into their sexual sins, and they was dubbing over a porn. So, those of us that remember VCRs, when you had to dub over something with a VCR, you had to have the two VCRs playing. You had to have the one thing to run while it was recording it. So she forgot to turn the TV off, or one of them forgot, and my 2-year-old self walks in there and I watch it. To this day, I can still remember those images. I was 2 years old, don't even know. I can remember the images. I remember telling my mom one day when y'all was revealing some stuff to me about getting free of sexual sin. And I told her, and she broke down crying. And that's when she told me about it. And she started asking me for forgiveness and stuff. She said, this was before I got saved. I was in pure ignorance. But this stuff comes in, and it's just like Yacoba said, it's a part of the culture, because they tell you that masturbation is okay. They tell you, oh, it's fine. Go ahead and do it. They enforce it, but it's the worst thing. That you got jokers that's 20 years old taking pills because they can't function. That's not normal.
But what the problem is? We're supposed to marry at a young age. 14 and 15 supposed to be having kids. So like all of that, you know what I'm talking about, the issue that young guys got to deal with when they're young, right? You're supposed to have a wife at a young age. That's the problem. And now we under this European system, and you're not going to get married till you 24. And so you trying to make it all the way to that age while you hurting like a dog. I'm just saying we got to go back to our old ways.
It's the truth, man. By the time Cass was 14, you had land, you knew how to function as a man, and you had a wife. People will be out here acting, oh, you're just kids. Oh, you're just kids. I can't do it. They're just kids like that because you train them like that. You train up a child in the way he should go. The Jesuits knew. They say, give me a child, and by the age of 7, I can show you what makes a man. You raise up. Trump is not rich because he's a super genius. Trump is rich because his mama and daddy and them was rich, and he saw richness in his family, and he just doing what they do. Clearly, the man is not super intelligent, and stuff. You seen when he gives press conferences and he bragging about smashing models in the middle of a press conference and stuff. The man was a brohard, but he rich. A lot of rich people are not smart. They're that way because they've seen it in their family. They've seen it growing up. So it's easy. If all you've seen is your parents make money, that's second nature. So they always want to tell us that, kids are this way and we need to let kids just be kids. No, it's time that we start giving them responsibilities. We start training our children up in the ways of Yah, teaching them these things early. I teach my son the things early. I say, hey, you too young, to worry about this, and this. You need to worry and focus on this. When these little girls come at you like this is how you need to carry yourself. You need to move and shake like this. Like, let him know what's real and what's going on, in a child way. But you just got to be real with your kids and let them know what's happening, because this world, they gonna show them any and everything, and they don't care.
So think about this. Somebody say nobody trying to give their kids away at an early age. I'm talking about a culture which was agrarian, right? Which means you had a plot of land waiting for you over there where you could build your house. The community help you build your house. They right next door, right? And it's a whole family unit. The whole structure of civilization was different, right? So, in this society, under this control of this Luciferic system, up is down and down is up. The problem is we are Greek-minded, right? And because we Greek-minded, you say, well, I'm not going to give my kid up at a young age. Well, I'm like, if he wanted to, back then, if you were living in Africa back in the day, you could go, you'd probably be married about 14, 15, definitely by 18. That's just the way it was.
It's still done in other cultures, like in India. They still do that a lot. And it's arranged marriages too. Like my mom talked about it, being raised in this American system. I'm like, oh no, I can't have my mother. Man, I wish my mom would have picked for me, man. Because you got to think, you got more wisdom and you can see things in the family. Because see, when you marry, you're not just marrying that person, you marrying that family. You married everything that go on in that family. This is why Bruce used to arrange their marriages. You even see it in the Bible with Isaac. What happened? He sent the servant down there to go and go find me, go find me something. Go hook me up. We got to get this thing done. This was always done. Being arranged marriages is not a bad thing. It's just that America with this rebellion has raised us to think that.
I was blessed to get a good woman, but most guys got to go through the trouble, right, of having to deal with all of the foolishness that the Europeans put in our people. And it goes both ways, women and men, right? But back in our old culture, the arranged marriages was good. That's my opinion. I'm sticking with it.
I agree with that too. I totally agree with it. Because you got to think, we coming out with great substance. Do you want some other culture to just come in and get your great substance?
Right, and the thing is, you had to do the arranged marriage regardless, if you wanted to or not. But we get out here,
some of them didn't do it, but that was the culture. You was compelled, but
to do it,
but some didn't. Them rebel ones, I guess.
Yeah, just look at it. I'm gonna talk about first. I'm gonna start with the men first. I'll start with the men first because I know this could get a touchy subject, but the word provider to men now is like a bad word. Like dudes out here wanting women to lower their standards and stuff because they don't have any kind of ambitions. They're like, oh, taking a woman out on a date, spending $100 and blah blah blah. Bro, my brother, if you can't go and take a woman out and to get her fed off $100, you need to work on yourself and work on your resources. Because you got to remember, cats in the Bible back in the day, they used to have enough provision saved up to go honeymoon with their chick for a long time. I think it was a year. So you have to, that we've lowered the bar because of this stupid European nonsense. So ain't no gender roles and everybody got no, there's gender roles and there's positions, and women out here giving off this masculine energy because they out here, they're telling women, oh, you can do everything. So you got women out here got all the education, but not taught how to be a lady, not taught how to carry yourself like a woman. They teach you to be out here and be lustful, but then when you get lustful advances, they're like, oh, this is misogyny. No, my mom used to say, you dress stank, you attract flies.
And you know the problem is as well, and women don't jump on me, okay? The problem is that when it comes to that submissive role, most women today don't know how to be submissive to the head of the house, which is the man, right? And so that's why marriages don't work. And so like your husband or your man, he makes you mad and you fussing at him, and now he fussing at you, and now y'all have strife. And then what happened? Y'all split, right? Because there's no humility. Usually what that woman to do, she'll say, okay, yes, sir, in so many words, right? Because he the head. It was respect for the position. But today we got all this confusion because no longer is there a hierarchy. Shoot, you got to use pronouns.
You're so funny, but did you just say yes, sir?
Yeah. Sister E, would you say yes, sir, to you?
I'm inspired.
Was that to me, Sister E?
Sister E.
You didn't expression. Hold on.
Wait. I'm confused.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I got to tell
my. I'm gonna tell you yes, sir.
Wait a minute. You said yes, sir.
Charging but the warp out.
Sir. Yes, sir.
He turned the camera on. Oh, man. She wants you to see her face so you know it's real.
Yes, sir.
He said,
yes, the master.
Yeah. Hey, you gotta go camp on him. I was talking to my master. I see some girl say that on the camp video, and I'm like, what?
Like, what?
Muhammad, you got in line real quick. I ain't even your man.
Yes. Yes.
Got the ship all primed, ready to go, man. We gotta get up out.
I'm sitting there looking like,
oh man. But they take it's I saw this video by this dude Kevin Samuels, and at first I was kind of iffy on him, but when I heard him break down some stuff, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can kind of understand what some stuff he say. And he had a thing where this girl was on there, and she said that she didn't want to be a housewife, and he was like, well, what's wrong with being a housewife? He said, men like effeminate women, that men like that. She's like, well, I just seen being a housewife as a slave. And I'm like, when did Proverbs 31 become slavery? That's my question.
Let me ask you women a question. If a man can provide for you and take care of you, wouldn't you prefer for, to just take care of the house and do the womanly things?
I did it. I had a job and was going to college, and my husband, when I was married, asked me, he said, can you not work? Because both of us can't work because we have a newborn baby. I travel. I'm going to need you to be a housewife. And I gladly.
Do you prefer that or prefer to work? Which one?
I would prefer to be a housewife. I don't go to work because I like it. I work because I have to. But when I was a housewife, I enjoyed it. I made sure, and being a housewife means that you have to take on things to ensure, like, I took care of my daughter, made sure the house was clean. And it wasn't like he was making me, but that's how it was. Clean the house. I made sure, it was dinner was cooked, and he was taken care of. And that was, I liked doing it. It didn't bother me because I felt like he was bringing in, the money. He was a breadwinner. But I think both of us, I took the role a little bit more serious than he did. But with that being said, I enjoyed it because, again, I was a mother, and I learned how. That's when you learn the most, when you're a mother, because you learn how to raise someone and teach someone when you still have some growing up to do. I was 25 when I had my daughter.
And just think about it. The school systems take all of that precious time with your kids away from you that you would have had. I mean, we really got to get away from these people and from this system. I'm sorry. I'm just praying that the Most High come soon. I'm like, because they didn't destroy us.
Yeah,
and they always. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
What I was saying is those years are, and I'm gonna stop in a minute, but those years are important with your child when they first get to their 5. Something it's so important that it kind of shapes and molds them into. It's like that foundation, and me spending that time with her was able to lay that foundation to the point that I could see a difference if I just didn't. It's just a bonding time. That's what it is, a bonding period.
It is. I see nothing wrong with the woman staying home and tending to the children because it's important. It's important. Their lives are important. That's good work. That's good soil. That's good ground you're working with, and you're developing things in them. So I see nothing wrong with that.
So
exactly.
This is why the European system and the Babylon system, because they even teach this nonsense in church, but they don't really read scripture. I don't really think that people read Proverbs 31. When you read Proverbs 31, you see, I'm gonna start at 10. Who could find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so he shall have no need of spoil. Actually, next time, Arrow Spike, I'm gonna give you the scripture, and I'm just gonna start yelling, read, and then you gotta read the scripture.
Oh, look at my friend.
No, he has to have his friend on.
That's just the E-roll. Read.
Answer.
She seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. She is like merchant ships. She bringeth her food from afar. She rises also while it is yet night and giveth meat to her household and a portion to her maidens. This means she's over a household and she got people working for her. She considereth a field and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands, she planteth a vineyard. See, they don't understand that this was business back during that time. Your vineyard was your business. So it's basically like her selling her makeup. This is her working at home doing drop shipping. This is her finding a job that she can do at home, but still take care of her house. So it wasn't like she was just sitting around waiting hand and feet on a man. While the man was out there doing his business, she handled the house and handled business that didn't take her away from the house. People be just getting this stuff twisted like, oh, when you a housewife, you a slave and you can't do nothing. No, you are free to raise your family the way Yah has taught you to raise your family. That's the most important thing is your family. See, we are not taught this nonsense. It's all this selfish mindset, this American mindset. Me. Instead of thinking about your kids. There's more women now that's leaving their families to go live their best life because they ain't being taught, because they're taught by society that they need to go and check, be happy and do what makes you happy, and their kids are suffering for it.
Man, I was just talking about that. When people have that mindset of live your best life. She 18, because my daughter is 18 now. Live your best life. Let her go. No, I'm not, because that's when the devil wanted the most at 18.
Yes.
So I need to really hover over her, because the world teaches us when they turn 18, let them go. I mean, I have friends and say, why are you up there with her? She need to be up there by herself and living life. It's time for you to live your best life. You've been a good mother. I said, I never stopped being a mother. What are you talking about? And I'm a mother when she's 18, when she's 30. And this is when I said the enemy wants to do the worst with her, because that's when she got access to sex, drugs, alcohol, all types of stuff.
See, they want to send their kids off at 19.
That y'all close like that, right? Because what the enemy wants to do is make it where she don't see any authority, right? All they want her to see is me, myself. Like a lot of girls today, if their dad told them don't do something, they're gonna ignore him and go do it anyway. Most American children, right? Both male and female. But like if you go to like the Indian cultures and stuff, if the dad said no, it ain't gonna happen. Right? They still have, at least some of them, they still have a lot of that respect for the hierarchy of the house. Dad said, no, I can't do it. Right. But Americans, especially Black Americans, we have no concept of a male authority, and then the wife being under him. You know, the kids today want to do whatever they want to do. They think they know everything because society has told them that they can make their own decisions.
Right. I want to interject something. That whole mindset, talking about how the European system has messed us up. When we think about, what we've been taught, let me put it another way. What a lot of Black people have been taught, again, about, a wife being in a home and that rebellion against it. You guys remember the show All in the Family? Edith Bunker, Yeah, that is what they think, that, that is what a housewife is. She was called names, she was always denigrated, and and people said, well, this is what a housewife is, and I don't want that. And I'm like, no, what you saw there was, again, that was a European standard, was just looking at a woman
Yes.
as less than a man. And in Israelite society, that does not exist. Men and women are equal, but we have different functions, different roles within the family unit. And there's nothing wrong. Like I said, my wife and I, we've been together for 16 years. She's a stay-at-home mom. Now, find that she used to make more than I did. But when our son was born, we made a decision that said she would stay home with him, and it's been a blessing. Didn't say there was some struggles, but Yah has provided. But we don't see that as, like, again, if it would have been reversed, the way the European system has it. Said, for instance, what if it was reversed, where she was out and I was staying home? How? And people would say, "What?
You lazy? You lazy? He a no good man. How you gonna have that man staying there doing that, girl? You could go find you a man that's making $6 million."
Exactly. Precisely. And right. And so it said that goes all throughout our through our culture. And so that's that leaven. That leavens the whole lump. And so just trying to say, and again, getting back to the truth of Yah, will help get that leaving out of us, so we can actually have stable, functional families that can carry the word on to the future.
Yep. But the whole problem with, and I'm going to tell you, the problem with the role of a woman being submissive to her husband is sometimes the men don't want to be submissive to Christ.
Thank you.
Because there's order in the house. If you're not submissive to Christ, you take my submission as a point of a doormat. And I'm not talking about wanting to. Submission, everybody's submitting in the house to somebody.
Yes.
Child is submitting to the mother, the mother submitting unto the husband, and the husband is submitting to Christ.
Right.
And because of that order, everything is gonna fall in line. If you got the woman who wants to submit, because this is my world, I submitted to my husband the way I was, but he didn't want to submit to Christ. So my submission was a point of being a doormat.
Right.
I do whatever I want to do. But yet and still, when you submit to Christ, when you hurt your wife or your children, he gonna hold you accountable.
Yes, sir. God says, love your wife like Christ loved the church. God has changed me in my marriage with that thought process right there, because see, I'm born in the 80s, millennials. So our big mantra is, oh, what have you done for me lately? And if you don't do it for me, then I'm gonna pop out and leave. That's like the whole culture now, is just everybody just want to come in with their hand out, gimme. And if you're not doing this, I can move on and do better. I had to kill that mindset in my mind, because God said, love your wife like Christ loved the church. That means that if I turn around and sin, and God did me like I did my wife, because again, it's everything in this earth is like a parallel within us. God had what was it? Hosea? He had to marry a whole street prostitute. He was up in the doggone whorehouse, pulling his wife off other men. And his life was an open example that God was showing him that this is what Israel is doing to him. When you go and you seek other gods, when you go and you watch that porn, when you go and you don't die out to yourself, you are committing whoredom to God. You are literally like sleeping with another person. That's how God views it. Like you just went and just messed with somebody else, and then you come back to him. So if you expect him to forgive you when you do that as a man, then that means when you get your wife, you're going to be saying sorry a lot of times when you ain't wrong. You're going to be sorry a lot of times when you 100% right, and that woman is being ridiculous, but you got to show her grace the same way God shows you grace.
And think of this, the modern churches foster this imbalance within society or within the Black family. And so like even, the nieces and the nephews, they don't respect the uncles. It's like you go to Africa and they say, hey, uncle, you may not even be their uncle. They call you uncle. You may not be their mama. They call you mommy. They have respect for the elder, and in our culture, we used to have that back in the day, right? During my dad's and them time, everybody, had the idea of, a Black family and the Black people and the Black culture that is literally gone. I've seen that culture because I'm old enough to have seen it. I'm old enough to have gone to Mississippi and been with the older folks and see how things were. I mean, we're nothing like we were, right? I mean, I don't understand how we don't see that they continue to manipulate us, even in the churches, and there's no respect even in the hierarchy of the family, and we have to change it and go back.
But it's called order, and that's key. It's just that order is just it all goes back to Christ. Period. It all goes back, and all roads lead to him. Well, I ain't gonna say all, but let me rephrase that because folks be like, she said, I'm talking about everybody in the house. It leads to him. And I believe that's the whole reason why these households are breaking up in some cases, is because Christ is not the center of the house. He's not leading the house. That's who leads the house ultimately, is Christ. Because the husband has to follow what Christ says. If Christ says love your wife, guess
but we
what?
Don't even know what a true family looks like. A biblical family, right? I mean, it's one thing to say we follow Christ, but to understand the family that God has put together, right? That's we've been broken so much, we don't know what that is. We literally need to go back into Africa, into the wilderness, and get rid of Babylon thinking and learn all over again.
Yep. Most High has to change our hearts. He has to take away the heart of stone and replace it with flesh. He has to work on us. We have as a people, even like you just said, and this is how I see it, even the best of us are broken. There's not one person, because of the psychological trauma. Trauma can be passed down. People don't realize that can pass down into the womb. And that child will have some form of trauma that they won't know anything about. This is generational trauma. 400 years of trauma.
And it's funny. I used to wonder how in the Bible after Exodus, I'm like, man, how can they come out of Egypt but still be so just caught up in it? Like, man, y'all just came out of Egypt. You just had a whole sea part and y'all walked over it. You've been drinking water out of a doggone rock and getting manna from heaven and stuff. How in the world are you going to go dance in front of a bull after God did all that? But thinking about what's in this system, essentially the persecution we get just from saying, hey, y'all, we true Israel, and hey, y'all, we want to follow the law. And they looking at us crazy like, what's wrong with you? You got freedom. Why you want to do that?
Don't put that yoke on your neck. Go back to sinning. Sinning is fun. Living righteous and holy, that's a yoke. That's their mindset. And that's what I hear now. That's what I hear. Like, I don't put no yoke on me, Doc, because he out here listening to. I'm messing with him. But it's like, what is it? Why is it following the ways of the Most High yoke? Why is following his being trying? How is that a burden?
And see, that's that little circle I used to be around growing up in ministry. What's up, Doc? How's it going, Doc? Yeah, what's up, Doc? You know, I just think about Bugs Bunny right now. But you know, but you know that whole thing is imbalance, right? And because you want to obey God, that's a problem. But you have the liberty to do what you want, but you don't have the liberty to obey God. That just don't make no sense to me
at all. I promise you, since I have, and I'm saying this only because of just my experiences, following him and obeying him. It's sometimes you do things like you be like, I really want to do something that I have no business doing, and turning away from sin it's a struggle. But I'm gonna tell you something, that struggle to do it makes you even closer to him, because you're drawing to him for your help. Like, I can't do this by myself. And people don't realize that when you make that decision to say, I am stepping away from my sin and I'm seeking him, he wants you to lean upon him and say, help me through this, Father. I can't do this on my own. If I do this within my own flesh, I'm going to fall. And it draws you even closer to him. That even when you do fall, you feel like you've done the world, like the world is about to just end. But it's because you have such a relationship. And don't you know, I tell people, I said, when you grow and develop and understand him, your faith even is different. Like I tell people, I was unemployed for 6 months. was not upset. Jacoby can tell you, was not upset, wasn't stressed. What I was upset and stressed about was I was tired of sitting in the house. I needed something to do. But for 6 months, I chilled. I did lives. Y'all remember them late night lives I used to do? But it was like he was just telling me, hey, this is a faith thing. Do you trust me in the midst of this? And I'm gonna tell you, my health insurance ended with my job right when I got my new job. Because my old job, I was on my part of my severance was you can have your health insurance for a 6 months. I think it was 6 months. And I was creeping up on that 6 month, and I was like, oh, I'm about to lose all my health insurance. Right after that, the new job came. The day that the health insurance kicked in was the day I started my job. The day the health insurance ended. So it was like it was a faith and a trust thing with him. He wanted to see if you trust me, but also if you love me, guess what? I'm gonna keep your commandments.
That's right. Because there's blessings in it. As long as you're keeping the commandments and keeping the Torah. See, people want the blessings without having to go through the process. We talked about that's why they turn to witchcraft and they turn to these other things because you could be in witchcraft and have a harem. That's cool. You could be in witchcraft and be a whole drunkard and be all out here on all kinds of mushrooms and stupidness. You could be in witchcraft and get power for all that, but you're not gonna get that from Yah. Yah is not gonna, he's not gonna honor that. You sending up strange fire, he's gonna take you out. So people don't understand being in Yah is serious. Like there was when people don't teach about this in church. Aaron's sons offered up strange fire and they got judged for it, and Aaron could not cry in front of the people. That's how serious it was, because Yah's word is absolute. And what Yah says is right. And if he would have cried, that would have made it seem like what Yah was doing was wrong. He couldn't cry. He had to sit there and stand in agreement that his own sons got murked because they offered strange fire. That's how serious it is. You can't be getting these blessings and calling on God for stuff when your heart ain't right. And that's what people out here doing, man. They don't want to live right. And when you tell them that you living right, that irks them because they want to think that everybody is doing what they doing. And we're not on that.
Yep. We're not. And the thing is, you love them. I mean, it's just like you said, if we bring us trying to do what we're supposed to do as the people of Yah brings conviction to the people that don't want to do it. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I tell people, I say, I know I'm a different person because the things I had to just endure with this community, old school me wouldn't have been able to do this. Y'all would have been talking about, Sister E, take that video down. That's old me. That's old me, because I would have went smooth off. But I know the Most High has done a work with me, that he has literally changed my response to things. Like, I laugh at things that wouldn't have been funny to me back in the day. Like, insulting me on a live is not funny to me. That means I'm gonna have to deal with you. That's old me. But y'all had to change me and change my heart and how I respond to things. And he's still working with me because I still have moments, pockets where I used to have a horrible temper. Oh, a horrible temper. Oh, man. It was nothing about throwing them hands. Period. Period. In my face.
Sister E said, try God, not me, because I fight.
Man.
You handing out fades for free, Sister E?
You
handing out fades for free?
For free. For free. Didn't think nothing about it.
Tisk.
No, I agree with that, because it's the truth. Because God, this is why we say that there's going to have to be like a school of the prophets for those that have that gifting, because that's something that you have to be taught, even within myself, because God breaks you, because you can't have your emotions. You can't be talking out of anger. That's what happened with Jonah. He was called to go speak, but he got in his feelings because he ain't like the Nineveh, because they had beef with Nineveh in the past. So he like, nah, I don't want them to get forgiveness. I don't, because if they ask for forgiveness, y'all gonna forgive them. I want to see them burn, so I'm gonna go the other way. What happened? He had to suffer. He had to go through it. He had to go, be broken down. You can't. You have to learn to control your emotions, man. Like, just I'll be driving sometimes, and I feel like y'all just have people try me just for driving to get my temper in check. Because it's just out of those anger, the uncontrolled anger. That's how. There's a dude down here that got shot years ago. He was in a movie theater, and the one dude pulled his phone out, and then the other guy behind him yelled at him because the phone light was bright. So then they got into the big yelling contest. The dude threw popcorn at him, and then the dude pulled out a pistol and shot him. Man, all over a movie theater. That now the two families affected because of your ego and your emotions. See that anger and that ego comes in because of self. Because you get mad at yourself. When people talk about you, you get mad because you get mad at yourself. But you got to realize, God said they're not persecuting you, they're persecuting me. So we just got to take it all as joy to say, okay, yeah, all right. Bizzle has an amazing song. I forget the name of the song where he talk about being just like in a traffic altercation and two ways he could have handled it. The one way being a tough guy that he ended up getting his wife shot, but then the other way of doing the right thing, but you don't feel good because your flesh don't like it. Your flesh don't like when you get humbled. Your flesh don't like to be put down, but that is a necessary thing because it's so funny. You notice even like, whenever you watch like anime and stuff, we all some nerds. We always watch an anime, but you always got the dude that's the most gangster dude be the most chill cat. Yep. He be chill. He let the dudes talk. They be like, oh, whatever. One of my favorite anime is Trigun. I used to love Trigun because Vash the Stampede was a beast, but Vash never was bragging. He would come in there and play the fool. He would look stupid because he didn't want nobody to get shot and killed. But Vash was the meanest gun out there. He could outgun any of these cats. He was able to take out everybody, but he played it low. He played it low key. He would be humble to the point of being made a fool of, even though he could own everybody that was up in that town. That's how we got to be with Yah. We can't move unless Yah tell us. How in the world can Yah trust us with power if we will use that same power for ourselves, for our anchor and our purposes? We got to be able to say that if Yah gave us the ability to jump down and fight giants and save a group of people from being killed, but if Yah say, hey, you don't do that, you sit there and watch, you got to do that. No matter how you feel about it, no matter what you think about it, you got to know that Yah is king and I'm going to be obedient. That's the kind of stuff he's preparing us for. So if you can't just keep your attitude in check while you're driving, how do you expect to be ruler over the 10,000 cities that we got coming?
Correct. You so funny.
The 10,000 cities. Okay.
They can video and say them Israelites over there saying they gonna own 10,000 cities.
10,000 cities.
We're chopping our videos up, but I mean, you are right. There has to be a level. I'm gonna tell people. I said for the past 2 years, this has been the most trying time of my patience and my temperament, rather. And because just like what Kelly saying, they did 60 of him, they probably did 40 of me, 30 of 60 of 60 of Pastor Kelly, 50 of Dante, 45 of me and Teo and Yacoba. They've done videos, and they do these videos, and regardless of how strong you are, it makes you a little like, hold on, for real, you gonna make a video? How about you meet me in them streets? Make that video.
You got the right name.
You gotta call them out. Come on and get it, nigga.
One time I was looking at a video and I was just shaking my head like.
I'm like, what about this is God? What about this is, where is all this anger and bravado? Is it about you or is it about God? That's the point where we got to get to. It's about Yah. We are people in the kingdom. There is no democracy in God. The kingdom of God is where it's set. That means as a kingdom, what he say goes. That's it. He running things. You don't get no choice in the matter. You don't get to pick. And as the representative, if I'm the messenger of the king, I need to say exactly what the king says.
Correct.
Because if I mistreat the words of the king, there's literally a whole war that could be fought for me messing up his message.
Correct.
People
because
don't understand that.
He's using you as a vessel, and he's like, my message is still gonna go forth. They talked about me. Why are you upset? And when I was like, Lord, what is going? Why I'm sitting? He said they talked about me. Why are you sitting there tossing and turning about this? So if they talked about me, they gonna talk about you. And that's that right there. That hit home with me. So every single time I said they talked about my Savior, so I got to keep going. He didn't stop. He didn't stop at all. He kept going. They compared him to they told him he had a spirit of a demon, Beelzebub, which is like, are you serious? Wow. And when I began to really read the New Testament and really started looking at what Christ was doing and what the disciples were doing and what John the Baptist was doing, ain't no different than what we doing. We saying the kingdom is coming. Get prepared.
John the Baptist is my guy. I love John.
Oh yeah,
because he was different, man. He was out there, locust and honey. You know, he was weird. He was out there.
Sure.
I love John the Baptist. He's one of my favorites because he went against the norm. He wasn't out there like that, and that's how it is, man. And you got to understand it's. If you read about even a lot of the great men of God, they always have that point where they got to like check themselves because they start, getting caught up in themselves. Look, that's what Job did. Job, all the stuff happening. What happened? He cussed out the day he was born. When Jeremiah started going through it, Jeremiah started cussing out the day he was born, and everybody that celebrated it. Everybody get to that point where you getting persecuted for Yah, but you take it on yourself. But then you have to compose yourself after you get those emotions out and realize that, hey, this ain't about me. It's about who I serve.
This is about him, and it's about serving him, and it's about his kingdom, and it's about his people. Because he said, if you cut up, they're gonna see you cut up, and it's gonna be some people gonna take it as it's being fine. And the thing is, we got to realize, especially with us being on, a lot of us doing the YouTube stuff and us being YouTube faces, that some people, not all, some people watch us, and it's kind of like a gauge for them how to respond. And if we respond wrong, it makes them respond. Because I've seen situations like, I went to Cherry's chat one time and went in on her in the chat, in her chat on her channel. And I saw a bunch of people that followed me start going in the chat as well. And when I saw that, I said, wait, some people are watching to see how we move, what we do. And if we out here going off and fighting and being just as ignorant as them, they gonna see the validation. And guess what? The blood is gonna be on our hands. So that right there, that's when I said, I gotta watch what I do, because people are watching. Sometimes some people are watching our response to situations. Like Yacoba, myself, and Dante, Pastor Kelly. I'm just calling them all out, all of us. And it's hard sometimes when we get away from this mic and we see what's going on YouTube. We're ready to put the mic aside permanently and say, let's go ahead and do it. But then it says, how is that going to edify the kingdom?
Right.
How is it going to help people understand kingdom principles and understand how to walk in kingdom ways? Because we've been taught how to live any kind of way, and he's trying to teach us kingdom principles. And when we do that, we put ourselves in a position to be judged. I don't want to be judged. All right, Cobra. Good night. I know we're finna go. We're gonna get ready to close here too, because we've been 3 hours long. But I mean, I don't want to be judged because I cause somebody else to fall. Because if somebody watching my life and they fall because of what they saw me do, the accountability is on me.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
So that's why I'm like, man, look, let me check myself and check my emotions and understand that I'm fighting for the kingdom.
Yeah.
This is spiritual, and that's why we talk about this is spiritual warfare. This has nothing to do with carnality. This is straight spiritual warfare. Yep. And when we out here doing this, what we doing, we have to put the whole armor of God on. We have to be mentally prepared. We have to be spiritually prepared. We have to be even physically prepared. Because if we tired, we're going to respond the wrong way. So when we go out here and we do these things, I try my best to make sure to represent the kingdom. It's the kingdom that I'm trying to represent. Right. And the thing is, when we used to do Berean stuff back, a couple of months ago, I had to really, really learn how to say, it's not about you, it's about him. Like, get in front of this camera and act like you got sense. And I would do it. And some days I would do it and I'd just be like, Jesus, help me. help me. And I get back on the camera again. I mean, y'all have you seen when I used to do it and then I cut my camera off. And sometimes I'll be cutting my camera off. Like that day she was on there, I said, you gonna have to. I was praying the whole time she was talking. I said, Father, you're gonna have to help me and help me get out of myself for a minute. And when he helps you get out yourself and you begin to, he'll tell you, go to this word, go to this scripture.
Yes.
Go to this scripture. And the whole time she was talking that day, I was looking at scriptures. And it was speaking of how a foolish woman is. How a foolish woman do things. And I'm sitting there saying, Father, this is all you. Okay. So I gotta be the opposite of that. And that's what kill him. That kill him every single time. And I know they watching. That's what kill him every single time. That you don't take me out of my character because my character is in him. He holding me accountable. I pray before I get up here sometimes. Some days I'm just like, but when I used to do the Berean stuff, I used to have to go before his throne and say, Father, I don't know how I'm going to make it through this without a little bit of Nikki coming out. So I'm going to need you to help suppress Nikki for just a second so that I can do what you need for me to do. Because Nikki is wild. Nikki going to get in that mic and say, look. But I use Nikki as a way because that used to be my name. Well, that's my nickname. But that's what they call you in the street. But I'm like, no, I can't do this.
See, we used to do the dozens and junk, you know, when I came up.
Yeah.
And I'm very quick-witted, you know what I'm saying? That quick wit is not to be tearing people down, it's to be building up, and it's for Yah's glory. I can't use it for that. But man, I'm like, Lord, help and keep me, because boy, folks be saying something and then immediately I'm ready.
The stuff that I could say, I tell people, I said the stuff I could say will shut somebody up fast. Hurt they feelings, make them feel like they 2 cents, they worth a penny.
One of my co-workers, I'll tell you right now, like I said, the days that when I first started the position I'm in right now, me and this co-worker, when people can push you to the point where you're ready to throw hands and you're the only black person in this group.
Oh man.
And you're ready to go, you know, all right, that's it. Let me see. Okay, wing chun, so the elbow going straight to his eye socket, and then the backhand's gonna go here. It's like, no, we ain't gonna do that. We're not gonna do it. And when you had to go in and say, Lord, please teach me, because I'm not actually a violent person at all. People know me and they're like, him? Violent? No. He's more of a pushover than anything. But but the enemy will try you, especially when Yahuwah has put you in a position that he's going to use you to bless somebody in some way. And the enemy's going to come. Your flesh is going to come out. He is going to push and it was like, okay, say, Yahuwah, please just help me. Help me to see what is truly going on, what is with this person. And actually he told me to be quiet, and I listened, and that person started basically telling on themselves. Yeah, and I started hearing them. It's like, why is he like this? Because he would talk to me, come to me, over talk me. You know, I'm saying, his breath wasn't nice either. You know, so he would come talk to me, and then I would say something, and he would just keep talking, and I was like. And then a few weeks later, he started talking about somebody. He talked about, when he lost hearing in his right ear. Bing! Wait a minute. He can't hear me. God had to show me he's deaf in one ear. That's why he overtalked you. He couldn't hear you.
Wow.
So if I would have went off on him, that would have been me looking all shades of stupid.
Yep. Well, my going off is justified. But I'm just joking. My arch nemesis can hear and talk. So no, I'm just joking. I'm joking. Y'all know I'm silly.
No, it's all good. It's definitely a work in the spirit, man. To not, that anger is next level, man. And it happens with a lot of men of God. Look at Moses. Moses missed out on going to the promise because he let his anger get mad. He got mad at the people, and God told him to talk to the rock, and then he smacked it out of his frustration. So you can't let this anger get to the point where you step out and don't do what y'all tell you to do, man. So it's important that we get our emotions under check, not just, you know, the sexual ones, but even the mental ones, you know, for anger and sadness. We really got to be masters of our emotions. You know, y'all made us beings. We're spiritual beings first. And even though we're in this fallen state, we can't let that state rule our minds.
Correct, y'all. We've enjoyed this conversation. Saints is cutting out on us. They like, we gotta go to bed.
I'm a night owl. I'll be up all night reading. I am.
But y'all got any closing words before we get out? But yeah, I've enjoyed this.
I was gonna say this, that, like, you know, you said this is spiritual. And, you know, again, I'm not a prophet or anything like that. I don't claim any such thing. Like I said, you know, we're going to see this thing get a lot darker before it gets lighter. And so we really going to have to be, you know, with that word, and I say, you say, be in the word, to say, no, let the word be in us and be in there and be focusing on the Most High the whole time. And we're going to get buffeted as it's happening. And that's the hard part, is learning to, you know, basically spike ourselves down, let that wind blow, but knowing that you know Yahuwah is going to have the victory out of all of this.
Correct.
Yeah, man. I'll just, you know, I love this assembly. I love it because I love talking about Yah, and this is how our people used to do it. This is how it was. It wasn't church. It was the assembly. When you came to the assembly and everybody brought forth and we all judged the word, you know, based off the word together and talked about the things of Yah. This is how it was meant to be. Not just everybody come up and look at one man and one, you know, thing and focused all on him. Like, no, it was people that was learned of God that came together to teach those who were less learned, and then to also learn from each other, man. I love it. I just love doing this, and just want to, you know, show love to everybody that's out there. Thank you, Sister E, for having me on. I love coming in, hearing your wisdom, and Minister Jacobas and everybody. It's edifying all the way around. I love it.
Absolutely. This is a joy.
Oh, thank y'all. I've enjoyed y'all. Thank y'all for y'all's wisdom and what y'all blessed us. This was enjoyable. I've enjoyed this. And it gave us a little downtime. We've been trying to stick to the whole revelation thing, that sometimes you need a break, and I believe y'all said, you know what, let's take a break for a second. But we totally took a break from it. But I did enjoy this. I thank y'all so much for coming up here and providing your wisdom and blessing the people and blessing me and others, and with your words of wisdom. So I'm just enjoying myself doing this. So y'all in chat, thank y'all so much for being respectful, for just being a blessing, and not just being a light within the chat and providing great, you know, dialogue within the chat, because some things I was looking at and I kind of caught and I mentioned. So thank y'all again, and all my people that for super chats, thank you so much for blessing us. Y'all, I'm getting ready to go to bed. It is what time here? 1:30. It's probably 12:30 in other areas. Everybody have a blessed Shabbat. Rest.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Rest.
Absolutely.
Meditate on his word. Read his word. If you go to an assembly, go, but make sure even when you go to the assembly, that when you come back home, rest. And rest your body, your mind, and your spirit, everything. He gives us the Shabbat to reset. Use that time to reset, and again, spend time with him. Spend time with your family. Don't get too caught up where you're going, even with, you know, going to assemblies all day and you missed your family and your kids. Spend time with them. This is rest, means rest in him and rest with, and just rest and be around your family.
Absolutely.
Thank y'all. Y'all keep doing what y'all doing. I will do something hopefully Sunday. I may not do as much next week because my sister's coming to town. So she's coming to visit me. So I probably won't be online as much next week. And I might not be able to do the Friday Sabbath. But if I do anything, it'll be that Saturday. But I may sneak off and do like a live here and there. Because that's my younger sister. She goes to bed early. So I'll probably still be doing lives because she'll be asleep. But y'all keep us in y'all prayers. And again, thank y'all for supporting us, Patreons. Thank y'all as well. You all being Patreons and for the Patreons in the chat, thank you so much for your support. And I will see y'all, like I said, on Sunday. Y'all have a blessed and fabulous Shabbat.